So instead of me asking questions, let's say we get into the back of an Uber and I want to ask the Uber driver to complain about his job.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of using questions, which are weird, right? So like I'm like, hey, do you like your job?
Right. That's weird.
Yeah, weird. It's like saying, hey, how much do you guys make? You say, hey, I just read this article the other day. It said Uber drivers are the most highest respected people out there, and they love their job. They have the highest job satisfaction rating. That's incredible. And the guy turns around like, what?
So you bullshitted him.
Right. So that's called triggering a need to correct the record. It's one of the methods. But I very quickly get your brain to associate a mental script of friend mode. Because he doesn't talk about that with other riders. He bitches about his job to his friends.
Right.
So I'm getting your brain to start shifting into this. I'm behaving as if I'm with a friend.
Right.
So I start getting that behavior out of a person very quickly. So we're just activating a script in that person's mind that goes from I'm with a client to I'm with a friend. And that's that first level deviation of behavior right there.
Okay.
And once you get the script activated, you can start leading them in other directions. So the second step usually, and this goes into Manchurian Candidate stuff, and if you want to talk about Sirhan and all that kind of stuff, we can.
Sure.
But to get them to start making a little bit of an identity agreement. Are you this type of person? So in reality, if I wanted you to, let's say, join a cult, like, are you the type of person, and I'll just have an A-B question.
Okay.
So, in my life, I've discovered there's two types of people. There's people that take action when they know something's right, and there's people that wait and wait and wait. And I'm sure you know people that wait and wait and wait. But I've got you to agree that you're type 1.
Okay.
Because I said, I'm sure you know people, and even your head nodded.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I've got this little agreement of identity. I am a type of person who blank.
Right. So you're influencing a person to sort of go along with whatever narrative you've already created about them.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And if the moment you get to identity, then you're guaranteeing that you can predict future behavior. And this goes really deep. We can get into hypnosis and all that stuff if you want to. And once I get identity agreement, this is the same thing with politics. You see the exact same thing. The identity gets hijacked, and then I can do anything I want because your identity is involved here. It's not you're agreeing with my ideas. You're agreeing because that's who you are.
Right, but doesn't the person have to sort of respect you first in order to go along with this sort of social change? They have to have some sort of an appreciation of you. You have to be impressive.
At the very beginning, yes. But the moment your identity is involved, they can lead it further and further and further. And then, so one of the third steps, there's a million, but if there's an experiment, if Jamie could pull it up, called the Lines experiment with Dr. Solomon Asch.
Lion, like the animal, or L-I-N-E?
Line.
Lines?
Yeah, line, L-I-N-E. So where this guy was at a table kind of like this, but you're a volunteered experiment. There's like 15 people in the room. Everybody else but you is in on the experiment. You're the only volunteer in the room. So they show you these lines that are 3 lines on one page, and they show one page that has 1 line on it. So which line on this page is equal to this line over here?
Okay.
So obviously, you're over here on the target line, you're going to pick C.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's glaringly obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So in this experiment, Dr. Asch is doing this conformity experiment. So these other people in the room all go before you, and everybody in the room, one at a time, says A, 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 A. And it gets around to the person, and this was almost 100%. 100% of people in the experiment would say A. And it's right in front of their face. The truth is right in front of their face, and they would go with the group because the group did it. The group is telling them what to choose.
But it's not even slight. Like, the difference is so glaringly obvious. It's kind of amazing. How did they pre-pick the people that were going to be the test subjects? Like, did they have any specific things they were looking for? Because I think there's a lot of people that even if you got 13 people to say A, they would go, what are you guys talking about? It's C. Like, was there anything about them that they picked? Like, were these people pre-selected for being... No.
No. And they ran the experiment.
Do you ever think about yourself in that room? What would you do?
Yeah, and I worry.
What do you? Do you?
No, I think in reality, everybody that's listening right now would say, not me. 100% of people would say, I wouldn't do that.
Well, think it kind of depends on your station in life.
Yeah.
You know, where you're at. When I was young, I might have just said A, because everybody was saying A.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't want to be an idiot.
So that's one of the things they did. They replicated the experiment on college campuses. Whereas people are highly suggestible. They're young. They're still trying to figure out who they are. And so a lot more suggestible. And this is, if you think of the way that social media manipulates our brain, it falsifies tribal agreement. And it makes us say A.
Right.
So we're willing to ignore everything that we see because we're seeing a tribe say that something else is happening.
Okay.
So it'll override our brain. And if there's one thing, like if you just, one thing that matters a lot is that our brains are not capable of of overcoming this technology. We don't have a firewall. And technology has outpaced our brain's ability to adapt to it. So I can falsify a tribe around you that says, oh, this is all happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Phil, you and I both are friends with Dr. Phil, calls this the tyranny of the fringe, where this fringe pretends to be a group of 1 million people when it's just a small group that gets over a lot of attention. It's really inflated, so it looks like it's more popular than it actually is. And if your identity's already there, then that automatically makes sense, and we'll ignore just basic facts. And it's not about the right or the left. It's both of those sides have been doing this stuff for a long time. But if I can get you to think that most of your tribal members agree to X, then most people, like 90% of people, will say, okay, X is true.
Well, especially with social media, right? Because obviously it'd be about something that's a little bit more complex than the size of a line, but you're so easily manipulated because it's not really just people that are responding. It's a lot of bots.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that more and more lately. I was watching this video today, and somebody pointed out after the video, look how many bots have retweeted this video. And it was astounding. So it's like, oh, there's a narrative that someone's trying to push because of this selectively edited video.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Well, you're a dragon believer. I saw that. I love that so much, man.
That's just the View ladies. They're crazy. They're the gift that keeps giving. That's that poor lady Joy Reid, or not Joy Reid, Joy Behar.
Yeah, said you believe in dragons.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And the next day, I think I checked your Twitter, and it was just said Joe Rogan, dragon believer.
Yeah, I said I have to change it now.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's so
just
beautiful.
For someone like me, that's a gift.
What you were doing is not just, I mean, it was funny. It was really funny. But it helped to shine a light on the absurdity that some of these people will go to just give people misinformation, like the most obvious misinformation.
Well, not only that, but it was after she was talking about The View being a great source of information because they're part of ABC News. So they check things, unlike me, who believes in dragons. So it's like, it was so perfect. It's like, fucking, did
Couldn't
you
have been
even
better.
watch the video? And then she said she double-checked it. Did you double-check that? Like, oh, yeah, I did.
I checked it.
That was wonderful. It made my day. I was happy all day that day. I was like, what a great day.
It made my day to see you change your Twitter.
Well, it's funny when people are their approach is so simplistic. It's so obvious to anyone else that it becomes fun. It doesn't work at all. Not only does it not slander you, not only does it not disparage people's opinions of you, it creates fun.
Comedy.
Yeah. It creates comedy. It's like, it's so ridiculous. But this is the problem, not just with bots and social media influence, but also with echo chambers, right? Echo chambers that people create where they get a bunch of people that only agree with them and everybody disagrees with them. Instead of looking at them, and you see that on that show all the time, instead of looking at someone else's perspective and going, okay, so tell me how you came to this conclusion. Like, why do you think this?
Yeah.
And like letting them fully express. Instead, it's like, everything is interrupty, everything is shouty. I disagree with everything you have said. The audience claps, and and they're going to stand up for this or for that, or instead of having an actual conversation about opinions and ideas and how you formulate them and how your mind works and how you think about things and why you think about things. Instead of that, it's just ideological battles every day.
Exactly. And it's identity instead of ideas.
Yes.
Is what it is.
Yeah, it's tribal. It's super. It's a bunch of people that are afraid to be alone and are afraid to be on the outside. And so whatever the group agrees to, they find some sort of mental gymnastics they can apply to these ideas to make them relevant.
And it will reverse rationalize a lot of those decisions.
Yeah.
So they're emotionally made and logically rationalized in our head, but we think that it's a logical decision. And it's so easy to weaponize a human being, from a Manchurian Candidate to just to getting someone to like something on Twitter because it makes them feel morally or intellectually superior because they shared it.
It also makes them feel like they're a part of a team, which people love. I mean, we are tribal animals. We do not like to be a lone outcast. We like to be a part of a team, which is why you see audience capture. There's a big thing that happens to people online. They find people that agree with them, and then they sort of lean into it.
Big time.
Yeah.
They lean maybe a little too hard.
Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people, they kind of lose who they are. And people love to accuse everybody of that. It's interesting because everyone's kind of aware of it now that it's a thing, which is good. You know, it keeps people on their toes. But when bringing it back to the cults, so they would try to get you to do something and deviate from your normal patterns.
Yeah.
And then most of these most cults are like sex cults, right? Like pretty much all of them, right?
They're just started by really sex-obsessed dudes. Like, you know what? I need a bunch of 20-year-olds in here.
Well, there's a few cults that have been started by ladies, right?
Very few.
Yeah, a few. And then there was that Wild Wild Country one, Osho's one, where the lady ran it. And he was kind of like sort of just this very odd, eccentric guru, and she was an assassin.
I didn't know this.
Oh, you didn't watch that Netflix documentary?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's so good. Because like all cult documentaries, it starts out like, oh, these people have it nailed. It starts out so good. They're cooking together and laughing and dancing and doing yoga and having a good old time and chanting. And it seems like they're having a wonderful time. But eventually they take over this town in, was it Oregon? It was Oregon, right? I think so. Somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, I believe it was Oregon. So they take over a town and they actually bus in homeless people so that they can pump up their numbers and vote to take over the town.
Oh, man.
Essentially what some people were accusing the Biden administration of doing with leaving the borders open for illegals and then allowing them to vote. Same sort of deal. So they took over this town and they poisoned a bunch of people. It's like really crazy. It's crazy documentary. But and then eventually it falls apart.
Isn't that most cults? Like you look at it from the outside, you're like, wow, they're barefoot, walking on grass, they're eating natural stuff, organic stuff.
Having such a good time.
They sing together, they're having this good time, and then they take you into the room.
Yeah.
And they say, you know what, Joe, you've reached the level. Aliens live in your butthole.
And they're going to get them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Something crazy.
It's a lot of them are sex cults. If they're not sex cults, they're like money cults or power cults or, or ideological cults, which I think progressivism is. I think it's an ideological cult. And I think that people, they enjoy being around people that are very confident that they're correct.
Yeah.
When someone, like if most of us, like, what is life all about? So many questions. And if you come across someone who has all the answers and they're so confident about it, it's very attractive.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by The Farmer's Dog. We all want to do the best for our dogs, but there's a lot of mixed messaging out there, especially around dog food. Take kibble, for example. You don't have to do a lot of digging to learn that kibble is actually ultra-processed. They put the words like premium on their bag next to pictures of real ingredients, but food doesn't end up as burnt down.
People was like 150, 120. And let's say your job and my job was to go and collect fish in a bag and then kind of bring it back to the tribe at the end of the day. And every day we went to the same spot. It's a great spot. We walked by this bush, this big ass bush. And one day we're going back and talking about the fish we got, and you hear a stick snap behind that bush that we haven't heard before. So it's an unexpected deviation from your mental script of what's going to happen. Does this make sense so far? So we're walking by the bush, the stick snaps. Now what's generated in that moment is a tremendous amount of focus. Like there could be a threat, it could be a rabbit that we can eat, right? So a threat or a value is how our brain responds to something new and something unexpected. Is it a threat? Is it valuable, socially or otherwise valuable? So the stick breaks, we're not thinking about our kids. We're not thinking about how many fish are in the bag. We're only thinking about this novel, new thing that interrupted my brain's script of what I thought was going to happen.
Okay.
You with me so far?
Yeah.
So in our life, when we see something that's unexpected, something that we're not expecting. So we're driving a car, blue lights in your rearview mirror is tremendous amount of novelty, threat, value, right? So our brain says, this is how I tie my shoes, this is how I go to work, this is how I run the cash register at Starbucks, whatever it is. We develop these apps in our head. And when something interrupts one of those programs, our brain automatically says, this is different, this is not expected, I need all of my focus down on this one thing.
Okay.
And that's how novelty starts to trigger our brain. Makes sense so far?
Yes.
And authority is the second piece.
So what would be an example that someone would use as like novelty to get, like novelty and authority, if you want to get someone to follow you, like what would be novelty that you would apply?
Give me any scenario and I'll tell you.
Okay, you're trying to get someone to join a cult.
Yeah, so the novelty right away is I'm going to approach you and say something or ask you a question that you've never been asked before, and that there's no possible way that your brain could have gotten ready for that scenario. And it could be something ridiculously stupid. It'd be like, hey, did you see these guys fighting outside here last week? Or you're walking up and you say, hey, I'm going to ask you 3 questions, but you only have 12 seconds to answer. No one's ever said something like that.
Okay, so you're just getting them out of their comfort zone, getting them into like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, we're breaking a pattern.
Okay.
So we're all running on patterns all the time. The moment a pattern is broken, we have tremendous focus. So focus is the first step to hacking the mammalian brain. Authority is next. And authority is like, if you look at the Milgram experiment, have you heard of this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Have you gone deep on it?
Not really. I mean, but explain it to people so they know
Okay.
what you're talking about.
Jamie, could we bring up a picture of the box? The shocking box from this experiment is just...
Essentially, they told people that they had to keep shocking people, and then they did it to the point where they thought the other person on the other side was actually dead, and they kept shocking.
Yeah. And so
what year was this?
1962 at Yale University. This is a variation of the experiment. Just go to the third one right there. So that's Stanley Milgram standing over that machine right there. So you'll notice on the bottom right, it says danger, severe shock right there.
Yeah.
So you're essentially told the guy's on the other side of a drywall wall. He's in another room, but you can hear him yelling every time you shock. And every time you're asking him these questions and he gets the answer wrong, he's acting like a dumbass. He's obviously in on the experiment.
Right.
But these people think they're shocking this guy. And in real life, man, I had that in airplane mode. So in real life, this guy is he's running a script. He's a participant in the experiment. He's in on it. But as the person's getting shocked, you hear him scream, you hear him say, I want to get out of here. I don't want to do this anymore. I have a heart condition. He's banging around. And then at around 300 volts, and it goes up to 450 on this machine, 300 volts, no more sound. He stops answering questions. And these people are sitting there at the machine kind of turning around to this guy in the lab coat that's running this experiment. And the guy in the lab coat saying, well, it's important that you continue. The experiment requires that you continue. And they keep going. They keep delivering electric shocks to this guy that was screaming before and is now silent. He's not even answering these questions on the test anymore.
Did everybody do it?
So before the experiment started, these bunch of psychologists got together and they said, like, all right, who's going to go all the way through? Who's going to do everything? And they thought 0.4%, something like that. It would have to be a psychopath. It would have to be somebody that was malicious or wanted to hurt people. And after the experiment was conducted, 67% of people went all the way. And this is, so what we're really dealing with here is not an experiment. It's a person being talked into murder in less than an hour. A regular, normal human being talked into murder.
67% of them.
67%. And 250 volts is enough to kill you. Would you agree? If you have the right amps.
I don't know, but I believe you.
Yeah. 100% went to 250.
Jeez.
100%. So, yeah.
So that could kill you. 100% at least attempted murder.
Yeah. And I train sales teams all the time. They're like, oh, we have, it's hard to sell this product or this thing. And I'm like, I showed them this thing. And like, where's the sales script these guys use at Yale University? There wasn't a script. It's not like, oh, let me get the perfect words on the phone for this telemarketing company.
Right.
There's no script. There's no hypnosis. There's no like NLP stuff going on where I have to say these little magic words. And I kind of view that aspect of persuasion like the guys that are obsessed with sales scripts. It's like Harry Potter. Like, there's no magic words that are going to make someone take action. We take action based on the mammalian brain. And what was present there at Yale University, if you're the volunteer there, you respond to an ad in the paper you've never responded to before. Novelty. At a university you've never been to. At a building you've never been in. With two people you've never met. In a room you've never been in. Sitting in front of a machine that's absolutely foreign to you. It's alien. Every single step of the way was novelty. And then the guy in the lab coat, they made him like, I think he was 6'7". And he's running the experiment. And we have this stuff called white coat syndrome where we respond to doctors. Mm-hmm. And there's even research where people were given diagnoses and that for things they didn't have, and they developed the symptoms because a doctor has told them this. And that's how powerful novelty plus authority is. People talked into murder in under an hour. And there's no magic recipe to do it. It's authority and novelty. And authority has 5 components if you want to just go into them. So that's confidence. Obviously, somebody's got to be really confident to be an authority figure. And this is just a conviction in my belief and a generalized belief in my head that everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. Discipline is number 2. And discipline, I don't say discipline is part of authority because, like, if everybody, like, when you were younger, you ever, like, go to a party and, like, put a really nice suit on and all that stuff, and, like, you got a 7-foot pile of laundry back at home, like, shit all over your bathroom counter, like, you were not put together. I was there. But, like, there's a part of our brain that reminds us that we don't have everything together. So when we go out, other people aren't saying, oh, this guy's not disciplined. No one's saying that. But they are getting a gut feeling that something's off. Because there's something disharmonic. There's something incongruent about our behavior because we know there's a part of our brain that says, I'm faking this right now. I'm not this put together. So having discipline off camera when nobody's looking makes gut feelings in people. It was one of those things where we have this ancient brain that's judging whether or not everything's congruent. So confidence, discipline, leadership. And leadership just means if I brought you back 1,000 years, would people still follow you? Like, your behavior is confident and certain enough and all of that people would follow you, not language and all that. Do you say the right things and do you give people compliments? That's not, what I mean is tribal leadership from the mammalian perspective, not human. So confidence, discipline, leadership, gratitude, and enjoyment are the final 2. Gratitude, just not saying like I'm keeping this gratitude journal every day or anything like that. Just I'm a grateful person. And I have perspective in gratitude. So I'm able to zoom out and think of like the larger picture when I'm thinking of gratitude. Not just like, I'm thankful for my health today, but I'm thankful like we didn't have a nuclear war yesterday. We didn't have all this stuff happen. And the reason these things are effective is because they having them when nobody's looking produces the precise gut feelings in another person that make them say, that's an authority figure. So when you have authority, you can get away with anything you want. And I go to these companies, I train companies and people all over in how to increase sales and all that. And they're all like, well, we have a good script. We've got this piece of paper right here that's really great. We spent $10 million developing the sales script. I'm like, give the script to somebody out here with social anxiety and have them get on the phone. They're gonna bomb. They'd be the worst freaking salesman out there because the script is meaningless. But everybody puts so much value in these words. It's who you are first, then what you say. And people just ignore the first part. I mean, if you think of, if I go off on a small rant here, I could tell a question bubbling up in your head.
No, go ahead.
There's too many times people obsess over symptoms instead of causes. So you go on LinkedIn or whatever, and it says how to be confident. Here are the 15 ways to be confident. Here's the 12 things that confident people do. They have great posture. They make good eye contact. It's a firm handshake. They use your name. They pat you on the shoulder. All this kind of shit. Those are symptoms of being confident. It's not confidence. So our culture today is obsessed with symptoms of things. Let me get symptoms of wealth. I'm going to get this Porsche. I'm going to get this yacht. I'm going to get this plane, post it all over Instagram, and show people that I have these symptoms. So what we're really looking at is like when somebody's trying to learn sales, let me teach you the symptoms of what a good salesperson has instead of the cause of what makes them a good salesperson.
That makes sense. So in order for someone to truly be confident, they have to take all those steps to make... Do you want some coffee?
No, actually, yeah.
Okay. You want it in the crazy cup or a regular one?
I'd take the crazy cup.
Cup's a little hard to drink out of.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'll switch. I don't want to dirty that one up.
No, don't worry about it. So they have to have all those ducks in a row. If they don't, people are going to sense it. They're going to know, even if they exhibit all the behavior characteristics of someone who's confident, there's going to be something off because we have some ancient way of detecting bullshit in ourselves.
Yeah, we get those gut feelings.
Yeah, we know when something's off. Someone's a little full of it. Someone's faking it.
Yeah, and we've all had that experience. Like everything looked right on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's watching it from a distance was like, "Wow, that guy's really confident." But in your gut, you're like, "Something's off."
Well,
Something
particularly if you have all those bases covered. If you have all those bases covered, I think it makes it far easier to see in other people when they don't.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if you have confidence, that means I'm living in front of my eyes.
Right.
I'm not just stuck back here the whole time.
So if you're going to teach people how to be confident, essentially, you have to teach them how to get their shit together.
Yeah.
Unequivocally. Like, undoubtedly, undebatably. Like, you have to have your shit together, clearly.
Yes, absolutely.
Otherwise, you're not going to really be confident. It's always the back of your head. It's always going to be fucking with you.
Yeah. And there's 5 areas of your life that I've identified. This is not some self-help program or anything, but there's 5 areas of your life that create gut feelings in other people. And that's your environment, how you handle all these things. Your environment, your time, your appearance, your social skills, and your financial life. It's like if I've got unpaid bills, I've got creditors knocking on my door all the time, and then I go out and try to look like I've got my shit together, I'm going to send those signals that something's not right.
To people that are aware, not to people that are willing to join cults.
Right. Correct.
That's the problem, is that there's not really an operating manual for life or for the human mind. And we're dealing with these very complicated systems of work and social life and hobbies and all the different things that people do. It's very complicated. And a lot of people are just kind of like stumbling through it, learning along the way, hopefully every time they fuck up.
Yeah, yeah. So, and a lot of that is, even with these cult recruiters, these people have an unconscious knack to spot suggestible people. So your level of suggestibility is how much will you think a person's an authority figure, even if they're faking confidence. That's basically what that is. Mm-hmm. Will you accept a suggestion and act on it? And we've got guys like Sirhan, who killed RFK in San Francisco. This is 60s.
I think it's Los Angeles.
I think it was San Francisco.
I think it's Los Angeles because I was at the actual hotel where they did it. We actually filmed Fear Factor there.
Okay.
See, that's true.
I don't doubt you at all.
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it's Los Angeles. And there's also some debate as to whether or not he did it.
Oh, I did a whole video on this on my channel. Yeah.
I don't know enough about it. But I know that there's some people that, obviously there's some people that think that like JFK's driver shot him. There's some like kooky conspiracies. Yeah, Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles shortly after Kennedy had finished. Yeah. So that hotel, we filmed Fear Factor there once. That's the only reason why I know. And we were in the kitchen where like
it happened in the kitchen.
Yeah, we were in the spot.
Oh,
like, this is crazy. They filmed this stupid fucking show in a place where a presidential candidate got murdered.
Yeah. Was that the reason they filmed there?
I think a lot of stuff filmed in that hotel. I think the hotel had been defunct, and a lot of there's like abandoned buildings and things in Los Angeles that they use for filming stuff.
Okay.
Because there's a big filming industry, like they film films and TV shows and stuff there. It's like a cool environment, and it was like spooky, rundown, old hotel. I don't even remember the episode, but I just remember us being in that room going, "Rrr."
That weird feeling.
Yeah. So the Sirhan thing is like that. People believe that's part of MK Ultra, that he was some sort of mind-controlled person.
I do.
Yeah?
And I'm maybe the number one guy in the country on the mind control stuff. I think I probably am. And I definitely believe that was influenced by a guy named Dr. Joyland West.
Jolly West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's not about skill. At something like, if you're doing something like this, it's not much about skill level. It's, can you find a good target that's highly suggestible? And you have some basic skills in this. I give you like 3 or 4 days worth of training in how to do covert hypnosis and all of this other stuff, and how to create amnesia in a person, so where you can just tell them to forget something and they'll willingly forget it. I could train you in 3 days how to do something like that. It's terrifying how our brains do not have a firewall. And the moment that our conscious filters, like, is this information good for me? Should I accept this information? If I can bypass that filter, which is very easy to do, you can kind of just jam in whatever you want into somebody's head.
And so what evidence do we have that Sirhan was working with Jolly West?
There's not a lot. It's a lot of anecdotal stuff. But he met with this guy regularly, and I'm not an expert on the case. I wouldn't consider myself an expert. But he met with this guy at the shooting range on a regular basis. And this guy would talk to him privately, whisper in his ear in the shooting range. We all know this is from testimony. And later, when he was arrested after the shooting happened, he said, "I thought I was at the shooting range. I thought I was shooting at a paper target." And he was on record saying this. And he has no memory of that actual event happening. To this day, he went up for parole, I think a year or two ago. And man, all they did was ask him to kind of admit what you did and just say what you did. And he said, "I still have no memory of this event." And he had to stay in prison. And RFK believes it too.
Wow.
And you've had RFK on.
Uh-huh. So Sirhan is meeting with this guy. Who is this guy?
Nobody really knows. Nobody fully knows, but the guy was involved and connected to Joyland, and they called him Radio Man. That's the only name that people have used to identify this guy. And he met Sirhan at a range and expressed, like, we're both interested in shortwave radio stuff and all that kind of ham radio. And they connected over that initially, and then this guy somehow looped him into the situation he was in.
So the MK Ultra stuff, a lot of it was experimental, right? They didn't necessarily have proof that a lot of what they were trying to do was effective. They knew that they could experiment with LSD on people. That was Operation Midnight Climax, where they took over the brothels, which is so wild. For people that don't know what this is, they took over brothels, and they essentially had the prostitutes serve these Johns LSD without their knowledge, and then they observed them through two-way mirrors and filmed them. Yeah.
And filmed how they would act.
Yeah. So the CIA was running whorehouses. I don't even know if they had sex, because they probably dosed these guys up with so much acid. They probably didn't want to. But they observed them, and they did it for years. They also ran the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic, which is wild. And until, like, I think fairly recently. And there was a lot of hubbub about it after Tom O'Neill's book Chaos came out. And I think it was right after that they closed the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic.
Yeah.
But the CIA was essentially a part of the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic in the 1960s.
Yeah.
And that's where the Manson family came out of.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people. I'm not a researcher on this topic. I'm a researcher on the techniques.
Yeah.
But there's guys like Sidney Gottlieb was crazy. He was running the CIA. It was called OSS back then, Office of Special Services, and it was crazy. They called him a cowboy, but they brought in all this LSD. There's in Canada, they were running. I think this was, I think it was in Montreal. It was in Toronto. Montauk Institute, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they were doing things called psychic driving. They would keep people awake, and it was like Clockwork Orange. And they would hold their eyes open and just play these videos to kind of like entrain them and really just drive their brains. And these were people that checked into the hospital with like postpartum depression. And they started doing this shit on them.
They just started experimenting on them.
Yeah, and the Canadian government admitted it so much that they paid these people for damages. So just one woman's case that I can remember, I don't remember her name. She went in for postpartum, I think, and she did the psychic driving. When she came out, she had no real memories anymore. She wet herself. She had to relearn how to walk and communicate socially. She had to relearn how to hold her pee in.
How long was she there for?
I think it was like a month and a half. Unbelievable. But
I think back then they were trying to find a bunch of different methods of mind control, right? Like there's a very famous video from the 1950s of soldiers in the UK where they dose them up with acid and you see them wandering around the woods laughing and giggling, falling down.
And we had just got the videos from the Korean War where the Korean prisoners were making these videos like, I realize now that America's a horrible country. I renounce everything. I hate America. These are all the bad things they've done. And the guys in the United States are watching this shit going, holy shit, they've got some secret technology and we're behind. So it was like a psychological arms race. They just went berserk on this stuff. So they figured out, or they figured that there's some kind of secret chemical or secret technique or recipe that these people are using that we haven't figured out yet. And it was a madhouse race to figure out what was going on with these prisoners in North Korea.
What was going on? What were they doing to the prisoners?
Depriving them of sleep. It was super basic stuff. They were depriving them of sleep, treating them really well. They're using these interrogation techniques that were developed by this German guy named Hans Scharf. And every interrogation system nowadays that's taught is a derivative of Hans Scharf's work. And funny enough, he's the most famous interrogator in history. And he was like the first guy that said, hey, what if we're not assholes? What if we're not just total assholes to these people and take them out on walks, maybe give them a sandwich every once in a while, and the whole time pretend like every piece of intelligence they give us, we pretend like we already knew it. And that was kind of his premise, like, let's not be a dick. And he got famous for that. So everything is based on his work now. And funny enough, you ever been to Disneyland?
Sure.
You know the huge mosaic that you walk through? It's a huge like tile mosaic thing at the very entrance of Disneyland.
I don't recall it.
Yeah,
I probably wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Hans Scharf made that.
Oh, really?
By hand. Yeah.
Whoa.
Weird.
How much time did that take?
I don't know.
How big is this thing?
It's huge.
See if you can find it, Jamie. How big is it? He made it by hand?
Yeah.
Is he on acid?
Had to be.
That thing. Wow. He left a permanent mark on Disney. A former Nazi interrogator. Fuck. Like as if Disney doesn't have enough problems with Walt Disney being linked to anti-Semitism. The fact that they actually have a Nazi artist.
If there was a competition where I said, Joe, I'll give me $1 million if you can figure out what this Nazi interrogator did on the side.
Not just I'd come up with that. That's crazy.
And it's
How
almost
bizarre.
Yeah, it's like a DMT kind of visual going on.
Well, that's just weird in and of itself that he was working with these people. Like, how was Walt Disney connected to that guy?
No idea. No clue.
That's not good. That doesn't do a lot to quell the rumors. You know?
Yeah.
So,
I think it was Paperclip.
Operation Paperclip.
Yeah.
So these people that are is there documentation that shows the effectiveness of certain techniques? Like, do we have any of their work? Like the Jolly West, did he publish any things, or did he leave behind documents explaining what worked and what didn't work?
Yeah, some. But this guy named I don't remember his first name, Church, got really pissed off at all the CIA stuff. And
the
Church Committee.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to get it all. And then the CIA launched a destruction order and said we need to destroy. It was like Enron at the CIA then. The papers getting shredded and all this stuff. And some of the documents survived the destruction order because they were in a dude's attic. Yeah. This guy's name, he was a professor in New York at Colgate University, and his name was Dr. George Estabrooks, and not many people talk about him. But he was big into it. Him and Edgar Hoover had a plan to hypnotize a German submarine captain, split his personality, which is not hard to do, and send him back home and have him torpedo his entire fleet inside of his own harbor. And I have all of those documents.
So these professors and these scientists were working with the CIA while they were developing MK Ultra. So they probably thought they were doing it for national security purposes.
Yeah.
And so they were probably saying, look, North Korea is doing this, Germany's doing, all these countries are doing this, we need to do this as well.
Yeah. I mean, they were at the bottom of Maslow's pyramid. You'll do anything. Like,
right.
So our country's going to go down.
Did you read Chaos, the Tom O'Neill book?
No.
It's about the Manson family, how they did it with the Manson family. It's essentially, I mean, he lays out a very compelling case for the CIA not only training Manson, but supplying him with LSD and then getting him out of jail every time he got caught. And that it was done to change the perception of the anti-war movement. Like the hippies were peace, love, and psychedelic music, and people were dropping out of society. And instead, the narrative now became, no, they're murderers and psychopaths, and they're going to kill beautiful actresses and people in Hollywood.
So they thought he would be like the vaccine for Timothy Leary and all the people.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, that they took this guy who was a con man and had sort of a proclivity towards, influencing people and being charismatic. And you ever heard his music?
No, I didn't know he did music.
Yeah, he actually recorded with Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. And I think Brian Wilson and him, there was like a real problem because his career didn't take off, and like he threatened him. It became very problematic, his relationship with Brian Wilson. But you can find the song. You should listen to it a little bit. The Manson. Can we play this? Does someone own this? How's that work?
Well, that was something we hadn't talked. Guns N' Roses covered one of his songs. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, we talked about that. I think we did. Yeah. But he recorded some songs, and they're not that bad.
Is that him singing?
Yeah.
Time keeps on flying. Think you're loving, baby, and all you do is crying.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's decent.
It's not bad. It's like, it's an okay, shitty song from the 60s.
Yeah.
It's not something you want to put on your Spotify playlist, but it's not bad.
It's better than a third of guys that play at the bar or something.
Yeah. It's better than a third of the guys on 6th Street in Austin, Texas. It's not bad. I mean, he was a charismatic person, right? And that's what you need to run a cult, and that's what you need to be a good rock star.
And a lot of psychedelics.
Yeah, and he apparently wouldn't take them. He would give them to people and pretend to take them, and then he would use these methods to manipulate them while they were under. So, like, he's sober, and he's going through this CIA textbook of how to manipulate and control these people. And then he gets these people like Tex Watson and, Squeaky Fromm and all these fucking psychopaths. And he, through this sort of indoctrination and bringing them into the family, and they're staying with him and then he's committing murders and crimes, and he keeps getting out. He gets arrested, and they let him out. And the sheriffs that let him out, they all have the same explanation. I was told it's above my pay grade, and they just let him out. So the guy's violating parole, and he's getting out, like, multiple times.
My God,
it's
I
very
didn't know this.
Yeah, and there's a real compelling case for Jolly West. First of all, there's anecdotal evidence. Jolly West visited him in jail, and they think that that's when it all started.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't doubt any of that.
It makes sense because, like, that's a really successful cult. Like, as far as like the historical footprint, like everybody knows about the Manson family. I mean, like that worked. That scared the shit out of everybody. It was weird. Like, oh my God, what if your children joined the Manson family? Oh my God, my kids are vulnerable. What if they want to be peace, love, and flower children and they get wrapped up in the family? And it just sort of changed the tone in society. With people And it was also at the same time when they passed that sweeping Schedule 1 Psychedelics Act
Oh
where
my
they made
God.
everything illegal. It's all around the same time.
And art goes to zero.
Yeah,
Like,
art goes
all art
into the toilet.
starts disappearing. Architecture.
A lot of things
Music.
went south. Yeah, car design. But the fact that there's real compelling evidence that this was the government and that this was the government's response to this immense cultural change that took place between 1950 and 1960. And it's not like just guessing. It's like there's real programs that they were involved in that were absolutely doing that kind of work.
100%.
Yeah. And that's really crazy to think of.
And it gets deeper. Like there are step-by-step programs they have for creating a Manchurian candidate.
Okay, like what's step one? How do you know when you can get a guy to be a Manchurian candidate? Can you do anybody, or do you have to get a vulnerable guy? Do you have to get
I
a
don't
guy
wanna
with
say
no
everything.
family? You don't wanna say everything?
I think some of this could be misused, but let me.
Well, I don't know if you know about Grok, but Grok's out there misusing information, so
All right, yeah, I'll just put it out.
he can get anything from that.
So, like, you're a very social guy,
Okay.
and you've got lines in your forehead here from raising your eyebrows a lot. There's people that are your age that are not very socially connected to people that have the smooth foreheads.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're smiling a lot your whole life, you're going to develop these little crow's feet, and you'll do it by the age of 19. If you're a social, happy person, you'll see the crow's feet. If you're angry all the time, you're going to see this little muscle right here, the glabella,
I got
start to. Yeah, but yours is not that pronounced. But whatever emotion we experience on a very, very regular basis etches itself onto the face, as a rule of thumb. Saying that this is science it's not. This is my observation. There's no study that I can send you. But we can see that. I mean, you can see somebody who's lived a super happy life. They have these little smile lines around their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's raising their eyebrows a lot. This is our forehead is a social billboard.
Right.
So you're going to see those lines start coming on the face. But what if I told you to make a skeptical facial expression? What would you do?
If you asked me to be skeptical,
Yeah.
this is my skeptical face.
Okay. So like somebody's trying to feed you something, most people will these lower eyelids are going to tighten up.
They
That was
do
the
that.
first
I
thing
might
you
do
did.
that too.
Yeah.
I might do that.
So you're like,
Most of the time, though, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's my what bitch face. What bitch?
Yeah.
What?
If I have somebody who is not skeptical ever in their life, they have the smoothest lower eyelids in the world.
Huh.
So to test this out, and this is anecdotal,
Okay.
but I gave it to 5 guys who are stage hypnotists. They're out of these comedy clubs every night, knocking people out and all that stuff. And I
Right.
told them, test this theory over the course of 5 years. They all said it's 100% accurate. Because, they bring people up, and some guy doesn't go all the way in. His hands aren't stuck together. He's like, all right, sir, thanks for coming. Go back to your seat.
We should explain what we're talking about. There's comedy hypnotists. And if you don't know, and if you haven't seen it, you would think it's bullshit. But I was very fortunate when I was 21. When I worked in Boston, there was a guy who was really good at it. He was an actual hypnotist. His name was Frank Santos. And he did this show, this comedy hypnotism show. I think it was every Monday night at Stitch's Comedy Club. And it was insane. He would have people go on stage. They thought they were having sex with Madonna. They thought they were in a rowboat, and the rowboat was going to tip over. It was they had a dance, they had a dance, and if they danced the best, they thought they were going to win $1 million. And it was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird to watch and he could tell when someone was under and someone wasn't under, and it was weird. It was weird to watch because I never believed in that. And I was like, well, I guess you have to be a dope. Like maybe you just have to be a dope, and that's the kind of people that he picks. He just finds the dumb people. But a lot of the people I talked to afterwards, I was like, what happened? And they're like, I don't know. It's just like he's snapping his fingers, and next thing you know, I'm fucking dancing. It was the
banging
weirdest thing.
Madonna.
Weirdest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
So I'm a hypnotist, certified hypnotist, and I've learned it just because of my brain obsession, and I didn't believe in it either. I had zero belief that it was real, and I went to my first comedy hypnosis show like 5 years ago. This guy's name is Rich Guzzi, and it's real. Like I saw this, I'm like, oh my God, these people aren't just like performing.
No, it's definitely real.
And so if, damn, what were we talking about?
Hypnosis.
Yeah.
We were talking about
So the suggestible.
suggestible people. Like, how do you pick someone to be a Manchurian candidate? Can you pick anybody?
Yeah.
Or does it have to be a person that has, like, something off about them?
I don't think they have to have something that's off. You can pick a totally healthy person that's very highly suggestible. So I have a TV show coming out that's fiction, and the bad guy in the book gets access to some of these techniques, and he doesn't know how to. They're not working, so he goes to these comedy hypnosis shows, and he just picks people that were called up on stage, and he wrecks their lives.
Pre-select.
So he gets someone else to figure out who's
Oh, that's
suggestible.
smart.
So, and those people are highly suggestible, and they're always more open to fun. They're always better, they live in front of their eyes a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And so suggestibility doesn't mean stupid. It means that you're just more open to the things that are around you.
Right.
And they're typically happier people.
More suggestible people are typically happier people. That's interesting. Because they're just blissfully unaware?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if they're suggestible and addicted to, like, Instagram, horrifying stuff on Instagram, and they're watching it all the time.
Oh.
So they can get programmed easily for all these things. So this guy, George Esterbrook, makes this formula to split the personality of an Army officer, and they called him Smith. And they're going to split this guy, give his alter ego a bunch of secrets to take across enemy lines, and then deliver these secrets that are in his head to this person that's on the other side of this thing. And in this paper, it's a hypothetical. It's written as a hypothetical. So they're going to split this guy, with the goal being he gets captured, somebody tortures him, they put a drill in his knee or something. This other personality won't come out because there's a secret word and an anchor. Like they'll squeeze his arm and say moonlight or something like that, and it'll turn this other guy on.
Is that really possible to have
Yes.
like a partition in your brain where you keep other memories?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. It's not a partition. I mean, there's no physical modification.
Of course.
It's happening.
But I mean like a partition. Like there's another you in there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something scary when it comes to multiple personality stuff. If a slightly suggestible, not even high, slightly suggestible person goes to a psychiatrist, and let's say I wanted to split somebody, I could make up a piece of paper that's got 10 questions on it. It's like, do you ever feel like you're at war with yourself? Like one person wants to eat cake and the other one wants to eat broccoli. That's 100%. That's everybody.
Right.
And then the next one is, do you ever feel like you're arguing with yourself about whether or not you should relax or worry about something? That's everybody. But it has a lot of these questions that talked about you having different parts. And then the psychiatrist takes this exam and he says, you know what? I'm looking at all these numbers, and you scored in the 99th percentile for multiple personality disorder. Have you ever felt like you're at war with a part of yourself? That's everybody. But now he says, like, well, what does that part want? If I could just talk to that part directly. So now he starts having a conversation with this part. And then he says, well, it's not really nice for us to do that. Why don't we make a name for this part? They're almost done. That's almost the full creation. So that's called, they researched this in the 70s, it's called iatrogenic creation of dissociative identities.
So if they wanted to do this and create a Manchurian candidate, there has to be like some proof that this is effective, right? So how would they before they send someone out to do some assassination or something, how would they know that they got this guy on the program?
Well, they tested it with hundreds of people first, and they would all use colors. So like Mrs. White was a subject, or Mrs. Red, or whatever, and they would hypnotize a woman while she's, and then split all this personality stuff and develop that partition. And then with her eyes open in one personality, she witnesses what she thinks is a real bomb getting put into a briefcase with a little timer thing on it, like an old movie dynamite thing that you'd see in a cartoon or something. Like get put into a briefcase, zip that thing up, and she's holding it, and they're telling her it's going to explode, and then they change her personality to the other one. And she's on heart rate monitors and all this other stuff. And and this is a CIA document they released, and she's called Mrs. White in this document. There's many, many more. But the other personality's job is to not look in the briefcase because that personality doesn't know what's in it, and sit in this waiting room with this briefcase beside you. Heart rate doesn't go up. And then another time, they give somebody they watch a gun being loaded. They split the personality and like do some kind of sleight of hand to unload the firearm. and then they're told to like pull this firearm out and go shoot this person in the face. And when the trigger is given to you, like a guy tapping his pencil or something, and they do it.
And this is just hypnosis that caused them? They're not using any psychedelic drugs or psychotropic medicine? Or
You don't need it.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's easier than you think.
For some people, right?
High authority on one end of the person doing the program and high suggestibility on the other, then your skills don't need to be that good. You don't need to manufacture suggestibility. If they say, here's this guy, I need to split this guy, and he's not very suggestible, then your skills have to be high. But if I have high suggestibility in the target, high authority in the person doing the programming, I have ultimate results. And it's not just this. If I'm a psychiatrist and I have high authority and I have a highly suggestible client, I can change their life for the better with the exact same things. So it's not just Manchurian stuff. It's anybody trying to change another person needs that level of authority. And my goal as a doctor, psychiatrist, coach, whatever, is to raise that person's suggestibility so that my suggestions can change their life.
Will you then let them be aware of what you did and how you did it and what the pathway is?
If I'm helping someone?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's got to be a mind fuck for them.
You know Roy Jones?
Junior, the boxer?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
He's a friend of mine.
Oh, I love that dude.
Yeah, me too. And, man, he's been through a rough year. I don't know if you've heard or anything.
No.
He's been through a lot this year.
What happened?
He lost his son.
Oh, I didn't know that at
Yeah,
all.
I think he was 21.
Oh, that's terrible.
But Roy called me one day. I went down there to train Roy at Roy's house. And he called me one day, and he's like, hey, man, can you do this split personality thing on a fighter? And I was like, oh, yeah. And as I'm telling him, yeah, I was like, I've never done this. I didn't know if I could, but I was like, yeah, I'll get it done. He's like, I've got this guy going into a fight in 2 days. It's in Vegas. Can you fly out and do your work on this guy? So I essentially give him an alter ego, but it's not like created through massive trauma or anything like that. It's kind of a fabricated. We use a little bit of simulated trauma to make this thing happen. The dissociation part, to where I kind of separate from myself. And this guy had like the best fight of his life, and this alter ego. You can ask Roy. I told him not to get gassed out, to where you're not going to get gassed out or run out of air. It's like you're going to always feel like you're satiated. Even if you're not, you're going to stay up and keep going. And the second is you're not going to feel any pain, and you're going to be pure aggression and strategy and all this. Roy gave me this list of stuff. So this guy, this is a young fighter. He's like 28. I programmed him. It took me 48 hours total. Not with him, but like 2 days. Over the course of 2 days, I programmed him. And then he goes up, what's the thing where they take a picture looking at each other, whatever that's called.
Face off?
Yeah. So they go to do that, and his wife is off camera, and somehow this being near the opponent turned on this thing. And he just looks over at his wife, like just a glance at his wife, and she picked their kid up like there was a murderer in their house. And they moved to another hotel temporarily. She's like, that's not my husband. But we fix it to where we can turn it on and off anytime. But it scared her because it's like that little alter part of that guy came on and looked at his wife, and she did not recognize it.
You know, Roy Jones Jr. had an alter ego.
Really?
Yeah.
He didn't tell me about it.
Call himself RJ. He had Roy Jones.
Oh, yeah.
And then RJ. RJ is when there's real problems. When RJ's out, you got real problems.
Yeah.
And when he fought Montel Griffin, you know, he had his first fight with Montel Griffin, and Montel won by disqualification. Do you know that fight?
No.
Something happened. I think it was a late punch or something happened. He might have been swinging when he went down, and he hit him while he was going down, or while he was down already. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember it was a disqualification, and then Roy Jones was like, RJ's coming out.
Wow.
And then in the second fight, it was just an obliteration. He just destroyed him quickly.
Yeah.
And when you would see Roy Jones, you know, like in his very best, he was like, first of all, he's probably the fastest super middleweight in the history of the sport, and even light heavyweight. He was so fast, it didn't even make sense. There's some 1-2s that he threw that you watch to this day, and you swear they're sped up.
Yeah.
You're like, no one moves that fast. He's like, "Pop, pop." He didn't even have a jab. He would throw a left hook off the lead hand. He did everything different. He fucked everybody up because you didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Everything was off. It was just different, and he can move faster than everybody.
Yeah.
But
I remember him showing me, because I'm ignorant about the fighting world and all that, but he showed me how those punches look from a receiving end. Those like that 1-2 and then a couple more after that. It was terrifying.
oh yeah, they're horrifying. You can't move quick enough.
You know, like it's done.
Especially if you
can't
don't
register.
know what's happening. Like if your mind has to, your body has to be conditioned to movements. Like you see a movement, you react. You know, like if he's doing this, a punch is coming that way. I'm turning this way. I'm turning that way. If something's coming that way, if he throws the left, the right is coming behind it. I'm ducking under. If you don't know what those patterns are, and then even if you do, Roy would move so fast it would fuck up your whole understanding of distance and timing. Everything would be off.
He is. Yeah.
He was
that
special.
Makes sense.
He
It
was
makes
special.
so much sense.
I say in his prime, he was like unstoppable. It was like every fight was an execution. He played a fucking full basketball game one day and then defended his title. Played a basketball game. And then after the basketball game, running around on the court, played well, and then defended his title. Just because it was like he was having fun. He was playing with his food.
Yeah. He's a machine.
He was
truly.
He was so good, man.
And one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Great guy.
Such a good guy.
Great guy. And great commentator as well. He's very good at boxing commentary. But yeah, he had a split personality. Do you know the Mike Tyson story?
No.
So Mike Tyson, when he was 13, Mike Tyson had a terrible childhood, Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. It was just like horrible neighborhood crime and, in and out of detention centers. He gets adopted when he's 13 by this guy, Customato, who is one of the greatest trainers of all time, but also a hypnotist. So Customato starts hypnotizing Mike Tyson when he's 13 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
And when he talks to him about fighting, he's like, you don't exist, only the task. So all of the things like, what? Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm this. Maybe I'm that. Maybe I'm a fraud. Maybe you don't exist. It's only the task, and you are going to be the greatest heavyweight champion of all time.
That is such a great.
And if Cuss didn't die, he had an unbelievable, spectacular career. But you can tell the difference when Cuss is gone. He doesn't have that mentor anymore. Doesn't have that leadership, and eventually it kind of falls apart for him. He wins the title when Cuss had already been dead, but then defends the title. He was just unstoppable. He was so much better than everybody else. But slowly but surely, up until the Buster Douglas fight, you see like this deterioration of his discipline, and he's sort of just resting on his laurels and fear. Everyone was so terrified of him. By the time they got into the ring, they were already beaten.
Yeah.
You'd see the look in their eye when he was staring at you. They would be like, oh, fuck. And so if Cuss was still alive, like, who knows what he would have accomplished? Who knows? He probably would have never lost. If Cuss stayed alive, if Cuss was like slightly younger and was able to make it with him deep into his career, who knows?
Yeah.
But hypnotized him when he was 13.
And that's early. I mean, you're still getting your formative identity and beliefs about the world.
Also, you all of a sudden have love in your life. All of a sudden you have respect. All of a sudden you have people who appreciate you for what you do. And so you really like dig into this thing.
Yeah.
So Jim Jacobs was his manager, and Jim Jacobs is also an archivist. He has the greatest archive of boxing films in the world at the time. So he's got all the old fighters, Stanley Ketchel and Jack Johnson and Jack Dempsey. And so Mike Tyson, when he's not training, is watching the greatest boxers of all time on film, which nobody has access to. Most boxers, you are as good as the gym you train in. If you're training in a gym with Tommy Hearns, like, damn, he is so good, and you learn by being around him, and you see what he does, and you try to emulate it. But the level of the best guys in the gym, it's always very top down. The best gyms always have some fucking assassins at the very top, world champions, top of the food chain guys, and everybody else sort of like follows their beat. and you absorb. Well, Mike Tyson was absorbing from everybody. He was absorbing from Joe Louis and Sugar Ray Robinson. He was watching everybody. Archie Moore. He was watching all the greats. Just hours and hours and hours and hours of studying films.
So it was proximity. So
it was everything.
He got proximity and like exposure to all that, and nobody else.
And genetics. When he was 13 years old, he was 190 pounds.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Teddy Atlas used to take him to what they call smokers. Smokers are like these amateur sort of unregulated fights. And they would say, how old is he? And you'd say 13, like, bullshit. And he like, how old do you think he is? He's like 16. And so they put him in with 16-year-olds, and he knocked them out.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he was knocking everybody out. He was just a genetic freak on top of being very intelligent but never really applied to anything other than boxing, fully absorbed with boxing. Has a trainer who's one of the greatest trainers of all time, trained Floyd Patterson, Jose Torres. I mean, Customato was a legendary world champion trainer. And then on top of that, he's a hypnotist. So he's like deeply involved in the psyche of his fighters. And he's a mentor figure to this kid. And so you have that combination of things, and you have that guy, the greatest. Mike Tyson at 79 at the age of 13. That's him at 13.
Oh, my gosh.
Fuck. Look at the size of his biceps. Bro, look at his biceps. Look at his fucking right bicep at 13. That is insane. I know. Muhammad Ali above that is 12 years old, and Tyson's 13 and built like a tank. That is so crazy.
He's a monster.
Oh, everything was perfect. It was the perfect storm. Intelligence, genetics, training, proximity. And, he was around great fighters as well. He was in gyms in the Catskills with some of the best fighters of his era.
Does he credit like psychedelics for his this transformation that he's made?
He does talk about it.
When people think of spies doing espionage overseas, wearing disguises and all these kinds of things, it does make you think they must be exceptionally good at dealing with fear, because a lot of people would be too nervous or too anxious or whatever to not crack under that kind of pressure. If you're meeting the guy that has the nuclear codes for Iran or whatever, and you've been working for 9 months to meet this person, you've got to have a good handle on your own anxiety and your own fear. Do the CIA target people that are good at that, or do they train that, or is it both?
It's both. It's a great question. It's both. CIA wants people that carry a certain level of anxiety, because when you carry anxiety, you're naturally paranoid, which means you have heightened observational skills. Most people who suffer from anxiety feel like they're inadequate in some way. In reality, they are hyper-adequate. They are more than adequate. Anxiety is a superpower through the eyes of the CIA. I would take somebody with anxiety any day over somebody without anxiety, because anxiety keeps you alive. Anxiety keeps you sharp. Anxiety keeps you learning. It keeps you attentive. It's a good thing. But to your second point, you are also trained. You are trained to understand how fear works. And to oversimplify it, your brain has two hemispheres, right? A left brain and a right brain. Your left brain is your logical brain. Your right brain is your emotional brain. Because you have two different hemispheres and they operate on two different bases, right? One is based in logic, one is based in emotions. They actually operate and they process at different speeds. Your logical brain processes much slower than your emotional brain, which is why it takes you an instant before you're scared, but it takes you maybe minutes, hours, weeks before you're convinced. So what ends up happening is fear in an untrained person, going back to our conversation about trained versus untrained, in an untrained person, fear is an emotion that's processed by the emotional brain very quickly. So then they react instinctively to their fear. That's where a lot of people who suffer from anxiety get held back. When you can train someone to understand that the same thing that makes them emotionally scared is also being processed by their logical brain. Your brain is actually going through the process of determining how scared you really need to be. If you can just slow down the emotional brain and train the rational brain to work a little bit faster, your whole relationship with fear completely changes.
How do they train you to slow down your emotional brain so that you don't react?
That's a big part of the reason why you have a controlled training environment that lasts for multiple months. Because what they do is they inoculate you. It's called stress inoculation. They inoculate you with scenarios, designed specifically to trigger your emotional response. Even though you have been trained to not trust your emotional response, they inoculate you so that over and over again, you have to go through the process of, I feel fear, I have to not accept it. I feel doubt, I have to reject it. I feel like I'm being watched, I have to reject it. I have to give my rational brain a chance to catch up so that I can get objective facts about the scenario. And there are some people who don't do it well. There are some people who never inoculate themselves against fear, so then they end up getting cut from the farm.
So for the average Joe that's listening to this now, or Jenny, the average Jenny that's listening to this now, and they live a life that's held them back because of their fear. You know, they don't take the risk. They don't raise their hand to do the presentation. They don't lean into uncertainty. Based on your training in the CIA, what would you suggest that they should do to get over that fear?
So they need to inoculate themselves as well.
Inoculate means?
Inoculate means expose yourself in controlled ways to fear. Very similar to the way you inoculate against COVID or you inoculate against the flu, right? You expose yourself to a strain that's weakened so that your body can gain some sort of familiarity with it. You do the same thing with fear. So if you're afraid to give that presentation, you're not ever going to change the fact that you're afraid to give a presentation, but you will be able to change something that you're less afraid of. So if you're afraid of going to the gym, if you're afraid of eating at a certain restaurant down the street, if you're afraid of stepping out of your front door, if you're afraid of asking your friend their opinion about whether or not you're overweight, find something small where you are less afraid of this than you are of this other thing, and inoculate yourself with this. Like, lean into the small fears, the fears that you already know are kind of irrational and simple. And if you can overcome those, what will happen is you will start to gain momentum. And the thing that you do to inoculate yourself is to know up front, you know you're going to have an emotional reaction. You already know it. It's the thing that you're afraid of. You can predict that. So you already know, I'm going to ask my buddy Steve if he thinks that I'm overweight. I'm terrified to ask him. He's either going to say yes or no, or he's going to take some cop-out answer and ask me what I think. But I already know that it's going to feel uncomfortable. But he's my buddy, it's low risk. Let's see how it happens. Let's see what it goes, right? So you go and you ask the question, you put yourself in the face of fear, you're still gonna have the heart palpitations, the cold sweats, your emotional brain's gonna take off, and all of your physiology is gonna like let loose. But then Steve is gonna tell you his answer, and it's over. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then when you do the same thing with your friend Jenny, and the same thing with your friend Bruce, and the same thing with your friend Robert, by the time Robert tells you his answer, your body's not reacting the same way as it did when you talked to Steve. Small inoculations are training your emotional brain to slow down and training your rational brain to speed up. So then you move on to the next most scary thing without going to the scariest of things.
You know, I was thinking about that as you were talking, and I was thinking, gosh, I think a lot of people know that. I think they know that the way to get better at speaking on stage is to go and speak on stage, but they're still held back by, you know, oh God, if I do that, I'm going to mess up, and then people are going to think I'm this, that, and the other, and then I'll never X, Y, Z.
Right.
So you can say that to someone, but getting them to take that first step seems to be the impossibility. Like,
and here's where the former CIA officer in me comes out. Because if you're too afraid to do that, good. I don't want you to do it. Because you being unable to do it gives me the advantage. The person who's listening to this, who says to themselves, I'm scared, but I'll do it anyways, that's the person who deserves the opportunity to change their life. The person who's listening to this that says, I'm too scared to do that, good. I need you to stay exactly where you are. Because in our world, the flat out truth is, our world needs cogs. Our world needs people who are trapped in the consumer cycle. We need those people. Because the people who are trapped in that consumer cycle, the people who are prisoners to their fear, are the people who run the economy. It's the people who are willing to break that cycle and capitalize on the fears that you can't overcome. Those are the people who actually provide you the service that you need because you can't do it by yourself. So I want to encourage the people who are willing to take the scary step. And I also want to discourage the people who already know that they're too afraid. We need both.
You met your wife while you were an undercover CIA operative.
Yeah, it was.
CIA believes that all people are born with a spy secret superpower. For some people, that means they can win deals. For others, they can spot liars. Some can even seduce lovers. I built a free 3-minute test to help reveal to you exactly what your secret hidden superpower is. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below, take the test, and start using your spy superpower to stay ahead of 99% of people.
I am still to this day very thankful that she is a poor judge of character.
In 2014, you leave the CIA, aged 34 years old. You both resigned together?
We both resigned together.
Why?
It was mostly my idea. My wife had a stellar career. We had a 1-year-old child at the time. And we were at a point in our career, coming off of very successful operations together right before that, where we were both kind of middle management. And that middle management lifestyle meant that we're spending 12 to 16 hours a day on the job, just like most people. But the difference is when you're spending 16 hours a day on the job, it means that you're in a skiff somewhere. You can't take your work home, you can't work from home, so you're literally absent from the house. So trying to coordinate 2 16-hour schedules along with a 1-year-old, when neither of us signed up to be that kind of parent, we both wanted to be the kind of parent that was present for our children. And instead, we're giving our child to some daycare center and paying extra overage fees to have that daycare center keep the baby for 12 hours a day. It's a sucky situation. So for family reasons, more so than for career reasons, we both decided, hey, let's double down on family and let's see if we can't start all over again.
Are you going to leave America in 2030?
I'm going to try and leave America in 2027.
I read that somewhere. Why are you going to try and leave America in 2027?
So I think the United States is going through a very difficult time right now, and I think most people understand that. We are a young country. No matter how much we think that we are the best in the world, we are actually going through the early part of our adolescence as a nation. And you can see it playing out every day in the headlines. You can see it in our role in geopolitical events. You can see that we're suffering in terms of trying to identify ourselves. We don't know, do we want to be a real democracy? Do we want to be kind of a partial democracy? Do we want to treat everybody as equal? Do we not want to treat everybody as equal? We're struggling in the same way that you and I did through middle school, right? My children mean the world to me. And what I want to do is give them a life where they have the choice to do anything they want to do. Unfortunately, I don't believe our country for the next 5 to 10 years is going to be the kind of country that allows children of today to choose and be whatever they want to be. I think our country has some growing up of its own to do before we really offer people equal access to opportunities. So for me, if I was my 11-year-old son, when I turned 15 or 16 years old and I start to really care about something, I would like to be in a place where I can explore that thing. I don't think that's going to be in the United States. I think that's going to be in Europe. I think that's going to be in the Middle East. I think that's going to be in Latin America, where he will have all the advantages of the world outside of the United States.
What do you think about what's going on at the moment with geopolitics as it relates to like China and the US? There's a bit of a power struggle going on, and there has been, but a lot of people forecast that China is eventually going to overtake, or maybe it already has, the US as the sort of global economic force. Are you preparing for that? Do you think it's going to happen?
I think that there's 2 realistic outcomes and there's 1 less realistic outcome. The most realistic outcome is that the United States and China continue to compete and reach parity, equality with each other. That's the most realistic outcome. Maybe the United States remains 10% bigger. Maybe China gets 2% bigger economically, but they approach parity. They approach equality. I don't want to live in the United States when it loses so much status that another country reaches economic parity. Think about that for a second. The world is accustomed to 1 superpower. Once there are 2 superpowers, everything changes. There's 2 massive languages, and you're going to have to choose which language you speak. There's 2 currencies. Which currency are you going to save your money in? There's competing priorities, there's competing politics, there's equally massive, sophisticated militaries. When you are in one of those two countries, at the moment that they reach parity, you are in the most dangerous position, because the number one target for China will be the United States. The number one target for the United States will be China. Right now, there's not parity, there's not equality. So the United States has to worry about everybody. And China doesn't really have to worry about many people at all. But as that equality gets closer and closer, there's more and more threat. Think about it in business terms. When you're the industry leader in your business,
Google.
you don't have to worry about much. You have to worry about all the little guys, but nobody's really a direct threat. But as soon as somebody else rises to meet you, you have to worry about it. The leader used to be Yahoo, right? Yahoo had to see what it's like to lose and gain parity with Google, only to then be eclipsed, right? So most probable outcome, we reach parity. Second most probable outcome is that China does supersede us by small amounts, right? 5% GDP, 10% GDP, and the United States has to regain its momentum to try to gain back the edge. So now you have this cycle back and forth, right? Where for 5 years, China is the leading GDP. For 5 years, the United States is the leading GDP. And you have this waffling back and forth, which makes you even less secure than if you were in direct parity. But that's a scary place to be as well. You still have to lose all the influence to get there. And when you're there, you never know how long it's going to last.
Do you think we're already engaged in a form of World War III?
Yeah, absolutely. I think World War III is already happening. I think World War III is not what people think it was going to be. I think people were afraid that World War III was somehow going to look like another World War II. Instead, World War III is a war of proxy nations. It's a war where smaller third world countries are competing against each other, and they're being funded by larger countries that are actually in conflict with one another. Ukraine and Russia. US is funding Ukraine. Russia's obviously taking care of itself. But the real conflict in Ukraine isn't about Ukraine. It's about the West versus Russia. The same thing's going to happen with Taiwan and China. When the time comes that China makes its biggest move on Taiwan, it's already made the small moves on Taiwan. When it makes its largest move on Taiwan, it's going to become a question of China versus the West and whoever supports Taiwan.
So going back to where we started then, the average Joe. The average Joe's listening to this conversation now, and what they really want is to make their life better in whatever subjective measure that they consider better to be. They want to start that business. They want to launch that project. They want to get outside of this sort of emotional prison that they live in, where their life is dominated by perception, what they think, their own sort of confines of their identity. What is the sort of closing argument and closing advice you give to that average Joe to liberate themselves so that they can pursue whatever they want to pursue?
So the most important thing is to take action. That is the most, even if it's the wrong action, if you take the wrong step, if you take the first step in the wrong direction, the difference between you and the person who doesn't take a step at all is the world. You have to take the first step. You have to take some kind of action. Just by taking action, you show that you're not trapped by fear. You show that you're willing to challenge your own perception of the world and try to gain some perspective. It doesn't matter what that action is. I don't care whether you read a book, whether you buy a program, whether you sell your first prototype. Take some kind of action, because 9 out of every 10 people are not going to take any action. You already have an advantage just by trying. And so few people understand that. They think there's some kind of advantage in waiting. There isn't. The longer you wait, all you're really doing is giving the other 9 people a chance to be the first one to take a step. If you take the first step, you beat the competition right out of the gates. And you know this as well as I do. Even if your first 3 or 4 steps are fumbles and trips and you fall on your face, by the time you stand up, you're 4 steps away from the rest of the competition. And you've learned a lot in those first 4 steps. So my suggestion is take action. Take action using the skills that we talked about today. Take action using the skills that you've talked about on some other podcast. Just take action.
Identity. We talked about how the CIA kind of rewrite your identity a little bit so that, you know, it gives you some sort of cover. But one of the things that stops us taking action is our own identity. What have you come to learn, and what do you think now about the role of identity, how it gets in our way and how we can liberate ourselves from it?
The worst person to determine who you are is oftentimes you, because you see it all. You live in your own secret life. the rest of the world sees your public life. Even if your public life is accidental, the world sees you differently than you see yourself. So when you look at yourself, it's like looking through a magnifying glass. You see every wart, you see every crevice, you see everything wrong because you have the magnifying glass. The rest of the world, not only do they not have a magnifying glass, but they're standing 10 feet away from you. So they see something very different than what you see. So a lot of times, whatever you think about yourself is actually inaccurate when you apply it against the test of perspective. Because what other people see and what other people think of you, you are usually very wrong from what they think.
We have a closing tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who they're going to be leaving it for. Now, the question that's been left for you in the diary of a CEO is very, very interesting.
What if the reason you're not deeply respected by men has nothing to do with your looks, your
This knowledge has been used for a really long time by some humans to socially engineer.
And then he said, tell me about last night. What all happened last night? And she was like, well, then the pronouns went away, and she had what's called a hesitancy and a loss of verbal fluency, where she struggled for words, and because we don't really typically have to do that when it's truthful. Then we have chronology. So when you say like, oh, what happened last night? If the biggest thing that we did was we went to a giant rave, and it was like the hugest thing that we did last night. And somebody says, oh, what happened last night? You're going to say, we went to this rave. You're not going to say, well, I started getting ready at 5:15, then I did this, then I did this, then we drove to this rave, but before we did the rave, I got some gum.
You're so right.
You're not going to go into chronology. You're going to go into the biggest thing that happened, right? And I'll throw a caveat here. If you say, tell me what happened last night from beginning to end, then you can't knock them for that.
Yeah.
So, but if you say like what happened last night, and someone just goes into this like chronological recollection, it very, very likely, especially if you're hearing it with those other indicators, is very likely to be deceptive. So just as an example, you have said the alphabet 50,000 times, maybe 100,000 times in your life. We struggle to tell it backwards because we rehearsed it forwards. So if you hear one of these chronological stories going forward like that, and they're not mentioning the big event first, like if you got in a car accident, God forbid, like yesterday, and I was like, Lisa, what's going on? What happened yesterday? You're like, oh, I got in a car accident. You're not going to say, I woke up at 6:30, I brushed my teeth, and then kind of lead up into it. So if I hear chronology, I might say something like, so you said you went to bed at 9, and that's when you kind of drove home. Take me from there and walk me backwards. What happened before that? So no matter how many times you rehearse a story in the correct order, when someone asks you to kind of walk backwards, you really, really struggle. But if I asked you from right now when we sat down on these couches, what happened, and walking backwards to this morning when you woke up, you could do that.
Because it actually happened.
Because it's real.
Oh.
But if we have this chronological thing that's a rehearsed story that's not true, we really struggle to go backwards for it.
That's so good. The way you explained about the ABC as well, I totally get it. Yeah. So you're recalling on your memory, and that's why you can actually say it backwards, because it's a memory versus a memorization.
Yes. Very good. I'm going to actually steal that.
Oh, go for it. Okay.
Looks good on a Post-it note.
Yeah,
That's
it does.
great.
My pleasure. Fascinating. Okay, coming up.
There's so many women out there that can get involved with manipulative psychopaths on the first date or in their dating life, and they don't even know that they're dealing with a psychopath.
I want to talk directly to the badass content creators watching right freaking now. When you pour time and love and energy into the content you're creating, just like I do, you know that creating short clips for social is actually important to help people come and watch your message and your show. But it also is actually freaking tedious and time consuming. So that's why I think you're gonna freaking love Opus Clips. Now, Opus Clips makes it so damn simple to convert your long form videos into short, social media ready clips automatically using AI. We use Opus clips right here on Women of Impact and Impact Theory, and every single person absolutely loves how it works so damn well to be able to clip emotional and powerful moments from these episodes that you watch to then share on social. So trust me, my homie, just go and give Clip Anything by Opus Clip a try for yourself and see how easy it is to use. Now you can actually go and try it for the next few weeks for absolutely free when you click the link in the show notes. Guys, that was absolutely free, so you have no fear of loss. Go check it out, and if you love it, use it, and if you don't use it. But I have a feeling you're gonna love it. All right, now back to the episode. I would be remiss not to ask. My audience will probably kill me if I don't. So you said you obviously teach women narcissists, and you say you usually go over the first 5. What are the first 5?
I think we've covered 4.
Okay.
So far. The final one is a bait question. So this is something that is taken from interrogation. And I'll give you the interrogation stuff first.
Okay.
So it'll be more fun. So in the interrogation, we use this thing called the punishment question. And the punishment question is, what do you think should happen to the person who did this? And the best example is when I did this with my children. I was on active duty in the military, and I come home from work one day. I'm in my camouflage outfit, and I walk in. Our living room carpet is as white as the carpet in here, and there's a little cart.
Because they need the attention.
Yes. So there's 2 ways. There's carrot and stick. So you start. Let's call him Billy, your 8th grade buddy that you still talk to. So I just see all these Facebook notifications for Facebook Messenger on your phone. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I see you responding to him a lot. I don't say anything to you, but all of a sudden, I order flowers to the house. I'm doing all this kind of crazy stuff because I think your attention's elsewhere. So I'm using carrot at this point to make sure I've got all of your attention. So that's carrot. And the stick is I confront you and I say, hey, this is either me or him. You're like, bro, we jumped on trampolines together 30 years ago. It's not a big deal. But that's when you'll have that conversation, it's me or him. And there's a carrot and a stick for all of these. So if I want to control you and I don't want to be dictate what you're allowed to do, where you're allowed to go, I'm going to make it really good. I'm going to try to structure our time together to where we're going to do fun stuff. We're going to a church that I picked. We're going to fill in the blanks. So I'm just going to structure your time, your focus, and your energy. So I'm in kind of control of where you're going, but I'm doing it in a way that it looks to you like we're doing things together.
And I've heard, it was Dr. Ramani actually, that said, just try and change plans on a narcissist, see how they respond.
Yeah, especially if it's the control.
Mm-hmm.
If it's attention, then that will be okay. Mm-hmm. And if it's validation, and you try to change plans, say, hey, we're going to this other thing, that's going to piss them off. If you say, hey, we're going to do this other thing, because I know you're into this, this, and this, and everybody admires you because of those things, and I think this would be the perfect thing to do. So you give the validation. So you're learning how to control and how to start taking psychological control over the narcissist. And the second thing is to learn what they're using is the FOG acronym. And this is fear, obligation, or guilt. Those are the 3 things that people are going to use to either get your control, your attention, your approval, your acceptance, or whatever else they're trying to get from you is through FOG, fear, obligation, and guilt. So those are, I think, mostly easy for most people to get. But when you start seeing it, that's one of the times that you can start calling things out. But you do it in a way that's non-confrontational. So if I have somebody here that says, if you do this again, this is going to happen. Then you start calling it out and say, wait, just so I understand, you are wanting me to do this, this, and this. And if I don't do this, you're going to do this. So you take all of their manipulation tactics, pretend like maybe I don't understand it all the way. Let me break this all down. So I'm taking this little thing that you sent me in this secured envelope you don't want anybody to look at. I'm like, well, hold on a sec. Let's open this up. I'm going to lay all this shit out on the table so we can all look at it together. Let's all take a look. And that's one of the best ways to do it.
Could you ground it in like an example? So let's say, for instance, out of the carver, someone's looking to control you. How would they use fog, fear, obligation, guilt as a real example? What would that look like?
Pick one of the Kava acronyms.
Okay, so control.
So somebody wants control, and they want to use which out of the
Guilt.
fog? They want to use guilt.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll use your name for this.
Okay.
So I'll say, Lisa, the last time that you went out, some weird stuff happened. And it made me feel awful. You went out for your girls' night. I didn't hear back from you. You didn't text me for like 3 hours in a row. And I don't know, maybe it was bad service or something, but I sat back here at the house, worried if you were dead. I was sitting back here just worrying about you the whole entire time because you didn't check in with me. You didn't tell me where you were going. You didn't make sure you were in an area where I could even see your GPS location. And it makes me wonder, like, am I in a relationship with someone who even cares about how I'm feeling? That's exactly what that would look like.
Ooh, can I give you one more? That was so good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do carver, let's do validation, and then let's take fog, let's do obligation, because I don't know how that would actually pan out.
Okay, and I'll use you again.
Please do.
I hate acting this way.
You're so good though, I love this. Because here's what it does, it really grounds it into what that would actually look like. So thank you for doing this.
Okay, so, all right. Lisa, I know that we've had this conversation several times, but you've told me that you support me. You've told me that you're here for me. You've told me that I'm the one bringing in the most money, so my career is the most important. Am I correct that you said those things?
Yes, you are.
I mean, we both agreed on this, and I'm not trying to like manipulate you or anything, but I'm going to work every single day. I've done this online college throughout the nights. I've done all these things, and not once in the past 2 frickin' weeks have you said anything to me that I've gone above and beyond for everybody in this household. And I don't know, maybe you're manipulating me or something, but I haven't heard anything from you, and you promised me that these are your priorities.
I see it all.
Okay, good.
That was so good. Because, and I even love that you even dropped in, like, I'm not trying to manipulate you, I'm just saying the truth. Like that is almost a form of a manipulation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you'll hear that comment like, I don't think you're trying to manipulate me, but, and they'll say that to you.
Okay, so I have a quote of yours that it's very simple, but just hit me like a ton of bricks. Mind control is pretty easy.
It is.
Talk to me about how easy mind control is and what are the steps of somebody influencing us.
If I could sum up mind control in one phrase, one sentence, it would be the ability to weaponize cognitive dissonance.
Ooh.
And if you think about how you get involved with a narcissist in a relationship and why you stay, that's weaponizing cognitive dissonance. If I can weaponize cognitive dissonance, I can get you to do anything. So cognitive dissonance is about your identity and who you think you are as a person. And in a narcissist relationship, it's, I'm a good wife, I'm a good woman, I'm a good supporter, I'm a good mom, I'm gonna stay here for the kids. So it's about identity. So if the moment something comes up that might challenge that identity, like my friend says, oh, Jennifer, you need to leave this relationship, I automatically delete that because it goes against what I believe first. And I would encourage anyone out there to just spend some time learning about cognitive dissonance. Because if you're doing mind control on a person, whether you're creating some crazy assassin to go do some CIA stuff, or you're manipulating somebody on a date, it's cognitive dissonance that you're creating. So you're kind of getting someone to build an identity, and there's 6 avenues to influencing the human brain. And these are focus. Can I get you to focus on me or the situation or whatever I want you to? Openness. How open can I get you to get so I can make you more vulnerable? And then we have connection. And connection is the degree to which a person feels like they are in sync with another person, just naturally connected. And then we have suggestibility. And this is the degree to which you will accept suggestions from someone. Like, maybe we should do X. And then you'll say, yeah, I will do that. It's like the ideal cult member, is super high suggestible. Then we have compliance. And compliance is the degree to which you will accept and then act on those independently. So not us together, you'll do something independently. So that's compliance. And then expectancy. And expectancy is the degree to which you can generally predict the future of what we're doing here, what's going on, is going to be positive. So if we take an extreme example, where total strangers were talked into committing murder in less than an hour, and this is the famous Milgram experiment. People thought they were volunteering for an experiment about learning. They go into this room at Yale University. It's got this shocking machine in there. Model, FATE. That's focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. This is the 4 ways to answering the questions anymore. There's nothing coming from the other room. You turn around to the lab coat guy again, like, what do you get someone to do almost anything? If you get 6, you're unlimited. You have unlimited control over a human being. But to capture control over a human being, you need 4 other things that are even more powerful than that 6-axis, and that's the fate model. And fate is how we control an animal brain. And we have a kind of an animal brain underneath our human one. So our brain evolved, so we think, in layers. And none of our mammalian brain can speak English. It's incapable of language completely. So if you think back to the Milgram experiment where people were made to be murderers, there's no sales script. There's no hypnosis being used. So there's no language. And that's so many people focus on the language. And if you think back to, like, if you've ever watched somebody maybe got away with something that they shouldn't have gotten away with, our first question in our head is, what did you say? What'd you say? And it's never what we say. It's what am I doing to control that mammalian brain? And if you think about just Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer guy, he uses that FATE model, F-A-T-E. That's focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. This is the 4 ways to control an animal. If you get them all together, you have full control over the animal. If you control the animal, you control the human. So focus, then we know focus is generated through novelty. So especially in hearing this in terms of manipulators, if I'm seeing a lot of this weird novelty behavior, like, that's developing a tremendous amount of focus. Because anytime something is new, our brain says, this is different. I didn't expect this. I don't have an app for this, right? So I need to pay attention. The second part is authority. And when it comes to authority, you sincerely are looking at a mixture of 5 things. And this is confidence, discipline, leadership, gratitude, and enjoyment. Those 5 factors trigger the human brain to think this person is an authority figure.
So as they're going through the study and the guy's in the white lab coat, it seemed like in that moment the manipulation is, I'm the authority, I know what's happening, you just need to follow my lead.
Correct. So our brains do not have a firewall, and they're riddled with loopholes. And this is the biggest loophole in the human brain, is response to authority. And this guy in the lab coat didn't need all this confidence and all this other stuff. All he needed was a little bit of composure and a lab coat, which is a loophole. And our brain says, oh, lab coat, doctor, medicine, that's an authority figure. So it's a bypass. So that's a perception of authority. If I can get you to perceive authority, you'll typically do what that person says to do. And it'll be incremental. I'm not going to say go jump off a building. I'm going to say, hey, step off of this carpet over here. Just take 1 step off. So these are incremental small compliances, and something you really need to watch out for. Am I getting incrementally asked to comply or do something in this relationship? It's kind of a wedge. So there's small things starting and kind of escalating over time. Then we can move into tribe. And when we get into tribe, we will do what the tribe does. And this is almost, there's maybe 10 people in the world who this doesn't apply to. Maybe you have a neurological condition or something like that, but any human will do what the tribe does. There's a study by this guy named Dr. Solomon Asch, and this was in the mid-70s, I think. And he has a card where there's 3 lines on it. They're all of different lengths. Then there's a card over here that has 1 line that's the same length as one of these lines on this card. And the task is simple. You look at all these 3 lines. Which line over here is equal to that line? Super easy. but there were 10 people at this table. 9 of them were actors. Only one of them was a volunteer. So as clear as day, the correct answer is A. As clear as can be. But when they go down the line of all these people, it's C, 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 C. And it gets to this last person, they go, C. Because everybody else did it, and that was 100%. Wow. 100% of people would start going along with the crowd, especially when it's public, and when you make our behaviors public. When you have to write them down on a piece of paper, they chose the right one.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I think about going back to the tribe thing, they say now loneliness is worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day, it's worse than obesity, it's worse than alcoholism. So I go, okay, if loneliness is that bad for us, think about it. For survival mechanism back in the tribe days is that, well, of course, you would not want to be ostracized from your group, because that could mean either loneliness, hence, you know, bad for your health, or actual death because the bear's going to eat you and you've got no one to help. So being ostracized from a biological standpoint makes complete sense. But then it goes to, why do we not speak up?
Yeah, it's the ultimate taboo to talk about. Because let's go back to those tribal days. If I'm outcast from my tribe, who do I tell? So we're not allowed to talk about loneliness, and there's an epidemic of loneliness right now. And the number one thing that everybody should take from this is technology has outpaced our brain's ability to adapt. So like if you think that, like if you're scrolling Instagram, TikTok, or whatever during the day, anybody that believes their brain is immune to a $1 trillion computer is a moron. I don't think I'm immune, and I know every tactic in the book, every single mind control, hypnosis trick, everything you could ever find, I've got it. And I'm terrified of social media. I'm not immune to it. And it's an artificial placebo for tribe, but it doesn't give the brain fulfillment. It gives the brain this little weird placebo effect top layer without fulfilling any part of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I'm a big believer in Maslow's pyramid. So if I have this like social love, belonging, connectedness level, which is like we have like basic survival, like food and water and sex, and then we have belonging and all that other stuff. If that's pulled out, I can never go above that. Whatever level of Maslow's pyramid you are at in your life, you're automatically programmed genetically to worry about the thing right below it. So if I'm at this confidence thing, my worry is about this social belonging and all this other stuff. That's where I'm going to fall down to if my confidence goes away. So this is like the self-actualization part of the pyramid. And if I lose this belonging and love, then I'm worried about, like, I'm at survival level, like food and water. So if I lose that sense of belonging, everything's gone. My confidence, my sense of self, my well-being, my self-actualization, everything goes away because that one piece of the pyramid was pulled out.
Speaking of that then, social connection and technology, I think of the dating apps. It's like we've got the best commercial of what we look like. So it isn't necessarily the reality, just like the highlights. How would you even tell then, if you're on a dating app and you're looking at people's profiles, what on earth would you look for to see if they're authentic or if they're trying to hide something?
When you're looking, how polished is the image? Do they need to do 10 takes before they put a photo up? Do they need, like, am I looking at a polished, presented thing here, or am I looking at a person who is comfortable with social injury? And I would say it's hard. First of all, it's very hard on a dating app. You're not always going to get accurate information because, I mean, there's so much AI now. AI could have written that description. The pictures could be AI. It may not even be a human that exists. Who knows? But I would say that if I was on a dating app today, aside from all the photos, the number one thing I would look for is there a statement of even tiny hint of vulnerability inside of that? I'm healthy, I run a lot of blah, 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 but somehow I'm addicted to Cheetos or something like that, something that's human. So am I seeing vulnerability? That's the only thing that I would be looking for. Do I see in the photos, in the description, real human being vulnerability?
is there a statement or a question that you can ask that person that shows your vulnerability to then test them to see if they'll use it against you? Because again, going back to like the struggles that women really have is they put themselves out there, you go online dating, you meet this guy, and you're trying to know if they're sincere. Are they just trying to get, you know, a one night stand? Are they just lying to, you know, get a night with me? So I just figured, how would you even test to see if they were sincere on an app?
I have a perfect question. It's one question. Are you authentic?
Just literally asking someone if they're authentic.
Yeah, because the inauthentic people are going to be like, oh yeah, absolutely. And the people who are genuinely authentic will kind of sit back and reflect on it for a second. You're going to see them genuinely think like, well, I think so. I mean, I have this thing that I kind of hide from people. I'm worried about some aspects. I hide some parts of myself. And you'll hear the answer. You're going to hear a lot less hesitation from somebody who is inauthentic when you ask, are you an authentic person? They're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm the most authentic person you're ever going to be. But I think it's going to be wildly different responses between those two different types of people.
The most inauthentic thing you can say.
Correct.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the final E on the fate is emotion. So like, am I getting love bombed? There's a ton of this dopamine right at the beginning so that I'm continually coming back for this thing. So I'm getting this love bombing and I'm getting resource bombing. But the most important final element of this is, what am I being told to do quickly? Where am I being told I don't have enough time to really think about things? And if somebody says, hey, we're doing this, are you in or out? I only have one thing left. We've only got one seat left on the helicopter, or whatever that is. I need to know in the next 5 minutes. That should be very, very scary. We're tribally wired in our DNA to respond to scarcity. Scarcity of water, scarcity of food, scarcity of social connection, whatever it is. Where am I being told that I don't have time to think about decisions? So the best insulator, number one insulator to prevent that stuff from happening is to say, I'm going to unplug this video game for one day before I plug it back in and think about it. Then all the dopamine's gone, and all I'm doing is, which is hard to do, is all I'm going to do is pause. So I have all this stuff, I have the focus, I've got all of this authority, I've got this tribal involvement here, I've got emotional involvement with this dopamine and resource bombing and love bombing. All I'm going to do, I'm not going to say stop, because it may be something good. Maybe it's a new church, and it's like churches do all kinds of stuff now. They sing and dance and do all kinds of stuff. It might be something that's good for you. Maybe it's a new therapist or a new group that you're joining that is not a cult at all. They have all of those elements: focus, authority, tribal emotion. Good things have those too. But if you push pause on those good things, you'll still feel good during the pause. If you push pause on the bad things, you're going to feel like shit because your dopamine's crashing. That's the difference.
Wow, and that scarcity, I mean, everything you just broke down was amazing and fascinating. And then thinking about the scarcity part, I mean, it's the biggest sales tactic, right? Like, special offer, ends tonight at 8 p.m., get it now, only 1 hour left. And so that, oh my God, what if I miss out, then makes you make decisions without the clarity. So that's fascinating. And then you said something earlier about you being, I can't remember the word you used, but basically you're the brainwash master. And so I want to ask you, how on earth did Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy brainwash so many people for so long without being identified? If we can discover this and figure this out, I really hope there isn't another Diddy in waiting.
Okay, so this is a unique scenario where money and status was probably the most effective tool that they used. What is money? That's access to the bottom two levels of Maslow's pyramid. That's resources. I can get you food, I can get you a house, so I get you survival and resources, right? So that's money. And what's status? If I'm connected to somebody who's really high status, that's automatically, boom, love, belonging, and connection. Does this make sense? Now we're looking at Maslow's pyramid again. So then they become persuasion experts because they fulfill Maslow's pyramid or Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And there's a part two. So let's say I've got you into my little cult here. My next step is, all right, I've got to get Lisa to agree to participate in all this crazy shit that's going on here. So I have to make sure that it's okay with you. So this is where they would follow, and I'm hypothesizing here,
Sure.
But this is where they would follow what I would call an interrogation formula. And to get you to confess, there's like 4 things I need to do. I need to socialize, minimize, rationalize, and project. So if we're in an interrogation, let's say you stole $10,000. I'd say, Lisa,
Can we do something like have an affair?
yeah,
Because that's something that I think a lot of my audience struggle with. Like, I'm not sure if my guy's cheating on me.
oh yeah. So let's go through socialize, minimize, rationalize, and project again. So like, this, I think a lot of people would understand, and this would, anybody looking from the outside, this would make perfect sense. And it does make perfect sense because we haven't been intimate in a very long time, and you're a man, you need intimacy. So that's socialize, rationalize, then we minimize. And in all reality, it was just a night with some girl. It wasn't a big deal. This is not a big deal. People go through really big problems in relationships. This is not a huge thing. Now project. Now it's not, project is when it's not your fault. So at the end of the day, this makes sense. And this is not your fault. I brought this on you. I knew that you were a man. I knew you had needs, and I knew you needed to fulfill those, and I chose not to do it. So, John, all I'm really asking here is this something you've been doing for like 10 years, or is this like you made a mistake? So that's called the alternative question. So like, let's say you took $10,000. I would say, were you stealing this for human trafficking? Or, and I'm exaggerating
Sure,
here.
of course.
Were you stealing this to fund human trafficking, or were you trying to pay your aunt's chemotherapy bills? Because I think you are a good person. So at the end, that alternative question is, all I want to know is like, has this been happening for years, or is this just a little mistake that you made? So if it was a mistake, then we can get through this and we can get past it. You're not saying I'm not going to break up with you. You're not making promises, nothing like that. You can say we can move past it. We can get through it, which is meaningless, but it helps the person to be more vulnerable and saying, okay, yeah, I haven't been doing this for years. I promise I haven't been doing this for years. It's just a one-time mistake. So it's that socialize, minimize, rationalize, project, and then that alternative question. Is it this bad thing, or did you just make a mistake? And that is the best way to get somebody to confess.
Wow.
So back to Epstein. So now I have to use those same techniques to make you think that it's okay. So, and this is a cult doing the same thing. So now you come in here.
Thank you, by the way, for calling them a cult. I think it's really important. I think they are
It is a cult. Yeah, and not all cults are bad. I was in the U.S. military, which is very much.
Oh, you'd call the U.S. military a cult? Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you join this organization, they shave your head. They control your entire life. They make you chant all these things all at the same time. You have to walking in the same steps in this marching line. So it's very cult-like. So let's say you've just joined into this little Epstein group. Socialize is number one. I have to convince you that lots of people are doing this. Look at all these people that are doing this. These are powerful people, so I'm using authority, that are doing this. These are rich people. Everybody is sane here, and this is okay. It's socially okay. And it makes sense. So now we're into rationalize. And it makes sense because X, Y, and Z. There's all these people doing it. We have natural instincts as human beings. We're hardwired for sex. Men are hardwired to like younger women. I feel disgusting saying this, but, and then we minimize. And in reality, they're old enough to consent, and these people are old enough to make their own decisions, and it's not a big deal. We're just having fun for like 30 minutes, and everybody's enjoying it. That's minimize. And then project. And it's not your fault. It's programmed into human DNA. Everybody has these feelings. It's just a few people that are brave enough to act on them. So I'm socializing it, I'm rationalizing it, minimizing it, and projecting so you don't feel at blame. And in reality, the projection may be onto Epstein himself. You're like, well, Epstein invited me here. Epstein gave me alcohol. Epstein introduced me to this girl. Epstein said, hey, go get a massage. Go into this other room. So that final part of projection may not be some verbal thing that happens. It may just be like, I'm kind of an agent. I'm acting on behalf of. I'm doing this because something happened. So that projection is that final step that allows, I'm going to do something that I would never normally do, which is like confessing to a crime or doing some crazy stuff with one of these idiots. So that projection takes place as the final step. So like I don't want to do this. This is not really who I am. And then somebody says it's not a big deal and it's not your fault at all. It's someone else's fault that you're about to do this. And it gives you this opening freedom. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, 1000%. And it's especially the Diddy thing. I didn't really know Epstein until this whole thing had happened, so it wasn't really on my radar until then. But I grew up listening to Diddy. I grew up listening to all of his music and idolizing him. And at 18 years old, if I came to America and I was invited to a P. Diddy party, I would have gone. If I was invited to the back room of a P. Diddy party, I would have gone. And so thinking about how a lot of women are impressionable and how people use that against us and how that becomes the big trap. So that's one of the things I'm always trying to grasp at, because I really do fear there's a P. Diddy in waiting. Because we went from Harvey Weinstein to Epstein to Diddy. Like, it feels like there's a lot of powerful, I hate to say it, but a lot of powerful men that are using money and power for nefarious reasons. And so I can't impact or make a guy not do it, but I can hopefully try and teach and bring on people that can start to shine a light on the traps that we get into. I mean, you hear some of these stories, it shapes the women for the rest of their lives. One of the women that was on like Making of the Band, you see a video of her when she first meets Diddy. She looks so sweet and innocent, and then you see a video of her now, admits she's just fucked up.
Yeah.
And that type of impact on so many different women, I really want to put a stop to it. So grasping out what are the things that they're looking for, how do we get trapped, and then how does it get hidden for so long? Like, those are the things that I'm really trying to figure out, so that hopefully each way we can try and stop these people from doing it.
Yeah, the reason that it gets hidden for so long is that it goes back to what we've been talking about. In every scenario, this always comes back. It's a fear of social injury. My tapes are going to be released. Someone's going to expose me. All my secrets are going to be there. So like, that's Maslow's pyramid. It's going to delete that level, and everything above it disappears once that level goes away. And in reality, what people need to do, especially young girls, I have a daughter who's 17, and you need to think, am I being influenced by authority? Am I seeing authority or a good person? Because especially for the female brain, it's hardwired to respond to like male authority, like tribal leader status. And that bypasses a lot of your critical abilities of like, is this good for me? Is this the right thing to do? Should I be doing this? Is it healthy? Authority trumps a lot of that. And so anytime you start programming your kids, and I would say this to moms and dads everywhere, this starts when they're 4, this starts when they're 3, and they go to the doctor, and your behavior around that doctor will dictate how they behave around authority. Will you tell your kid, like, that doctor is your employee, you're in charge of the doctor, you tell the doctor what to do, you tell the doctor the problems, the doctor works for you. I'm not telling my kid to be a dick, we're still respectful, we say Mr., Mrs., yes ma'am, yes sir. But you're in charge of that doctor. So we start teaching early on, recognize the difference between authority and perceived authority. Those two things. It's the biggest thing we can teach our kids. It's the biggest thing I could ever pass on to, especially young girls that are watching your podcast. So recognize the authority. Where is my focus being trapped? So like, is someone saying, don't go out anymore, don't go to that place anymore, you need to hang out with us for 1 straight week. So I need like, when is someone trying to narrow down my level of focus and attention? It's being narrowed on something, then there's an authority figure, and what's the final element? It's the tribe. And now it's everybody's doing this, this is socially acceptable. I'm seeing lots of people agree with this, I'm seeing lots of other people comply. So it's just like the lines experiment, where which line is here, which line is there, and everybody's saying this. I'll say something that defies reality just because other people did the same thing.
That's fascinating. And then one other thing I think is a lot of us women have been taught to not listen to our gut intuition. And we just see what the expert says. We don't necessarily tap in. We just go, well, they're the expert. They must know. And you actually have a list of, if you focus on these 5 things, your gut intuition will be clearer and louder. Do you mind taking us through those 5 things?
So managing and being completely in charge of your environment is step number 1. And this is everything about you. So like if you go out and you want to look like you've got your shit together, you need to have your shit together. It makes so much difference in our psychology and how much control we have over ourselves and the world around us. If I want control of me, that starts with where I spend my time. Do I pick up after myself? Do I put the toothbrush back where it's supposed to go? And then the time. The number one thing about time, and I could go on for 2 hours about time management and all that, but is our whole lives people tell us to spend time. And we use the phrase spend time, but no one teaches us the difference between spending time and investing it. So a lot of people don't ever learn the difference between spending and investing time. Then we have appearance. And appearance is how I move, how I walk, how I carry myself. And if I find myself moving faster than I should in social situations, I'm becoming more suggestible because my fear levels are increasing. This could be social anxiety, it could be anything. When we see the body speed up in these processes, we see these rapid movements, we're seeing increase of fear, which makes you more suggestible, which means you'll be hyper responsive to authority and tribe. Because like if I'm really scared, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do what everybody else is doing, so I'm gonna respond to the tribe. So environment, time, appearance, and we're naturally wired, especially women will kind of compare themselves to other women all the time. We're hardwired to compare ourselves to other people. Since that wiring is built into your brain, the best way that you can compare yourself to other people is, am I calmer than the other person? Can I be the calmest person in the room? And if that's a little too abstract for you, then take it down to speed of your body. Can I make my body the slowest moving person in the room? To where all of my movements are slow, deliberate, careful, and I'm slower than the other person. I'm not competing on hierarchy or status or bank accounts or anything else. Just who is calmer? Can I out-calm everybody else? And especially for narcissists, this is really bad. Because if you're willing to move slower and be calmer, and let's say I'm the woman and I'm getting all of this stuff like thrown at me, this kind of manipulation tactics, and I'm moving really slowly, I'm just looking like this, and if I'm more calm than you are, I'm also more willing to sit here in silence and stare at you after you've just finished talking and just contemplate. And the mistake that I hear most people say is like when they're telling you, oh, you need to stop and wait and pause and like look someone in the eye. Doing that as a tactic will not work as effectively as if you're doing it and considering what someone said. So you're using the time instead of using a trick.
Oh, yeah.
So just considering what they're said takes a lot of the pressure off of you, a lot of the fear, any of that stuff is gone because I'm not using some tactic. I'm just stopping to think about what somebody said. And if I hear something manipulative, I'm going to say, maybe I misheard that. So you said, and I'm going to go back and walk them through every single thing, but I'll take the blame. I'll say, I may have misheard you. That happens to me every once in a while. So let me just rephrase this and make sure I understood. So any manipulative phrase, take that blame and then rephrase it and make sure you're taking those things out and laying them out on the table so there's no denying it, and you make them agree. Like, is this correct? Is this correct, what all this shit I've just laid out here? So that would be the appearance. And then it's social, and this is having a good social network of 3D humans, 3D human beings. It's so important. And if you have a really tight social network, and you can go find one, go to a gym, go to a yoga class, go meet some people, get a 3D group of friends, because if you have a fulfilled tribe level of Maslow, you won't be seeking it in someone at a bar. That's that social level. And then our financial stuff. if you look at the statistics of people that are joining cults, all the way back to like the Branch Davidians, people who are joining have financial problems. They've got financial shit going on in their life. So figure out like whatever you've got to do to get your financial stuff in order. You're not getting late payments on bills. You're not doing all of that. And if you can't do all of that like in a day, which most people can't, get started. Do one thing, and that's going to take that ease off of your mind to where you're worried about resources on that bottom level of Maslow's pyramid. Because if I'm worried about that, I can use that to manipulate the shit out of you. It makes you more vulnerable to influence because you're viewing yourself as faking it when you're trying to look successful, or you're viewing yourself as not enough, I'm not good enough. So it makes you more suggestible and more easily manipulated. And I'm not saying your financial problems are out there for everybody to see. It just makes you worry more. And when you're worried about other things outside, then you're more easy to manipulate.
Well, I've never heard of that's how you start to listen to your gut intuition. And it makes complete sense. Let me just repeat what I think make sure that I actually fully understand it. So you're saying so often we are unable to tap into our gut intuition because there's a lot of worries and things that we have that distract us and pull our attention away to not go inwards, but to always be outwards. But if we focus on all of these things one by one, it gives us the space to then be able to pause, and it allows us to go inwards and go, that felt weird. Why did it feel weird? Instead of rushing past it.
Yes, perfectly said. That needs to be on a t-shirt.
Oh, it's pretty long. But, so if we do all of that and we start to trust our gut intuition, mixed with all of the tactics that you've just given us, thank you. Like when I show up every day, it is in the effort to actually help people. Like no BS, actually give them the tactics. And when it comes to the subtle manipulation tactics that get used on us, that we don't realize, we end up losing our confidence, not trusting our gut intuition. And unfortunately, that often can lead to toxicity in a relationship. And I've just done a lot of interviews with criminal psychologists and things like that, where you see it unfortunately go to coercive control, to stalking, to murder.
Yeah.
So, Chase, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks,
Where can people find you, all the amazing work and your book and everything that you're up to?
Just NCI, which is the system that we teach, like N for November, CI.university.
We'll put a link. And so, any socials? You're on YouTube.
I'm on YouTube.
There you go. He's on YouTube.
Thanks, Lisa.
Guys, like I just said, it is so important that we women take the ownership to learn these things. It isn't our fault that we weren't taught it. It isn't our fault that maybe we've been trapped before in past relationships because we didn't know any better. That isn't our fault. But let's ideally start taking the steps that it will need for us to learn this stuff so that we can spread it to our friends, spread it to our daughters, spread it to our sisters, our mothers, anybody out there that could be susceptible to getting themselves trapped in any scenario, whether it's with a narcissist all the way to a psychopath. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Please do go follow Chase. And if you're not following me, click that follow button down there. Until next time, guys, be the hero of your own life. Peace.
And ignore the fact that you pointed at me when she said psychopath.
No, didn't I say Chase when I pointed at you? I meant this way, guys. Think that you can spot a psychopath? Well, click here and learn about the 20 red flags that will make you question the man lying next to you.
The art of manipulation is someone making you do things and you don't even realize you're doing it. When someone's being gaslit by an expert manipulator, they don't.
We talked about how responsive human beings are when it comes to authority. If you're wanting to seriously take charge of a group or really influence another person at a deep level, you're going to need for them to see you as the authority in the room. And there are 5 tripwires that take place in another person's head. These 5 tripwires are movement, appearance, confidence, connection, and intent. Let's walk through those 5 right now. Movement is how you move your body, and I'm going to give you some tactics on doing that. Appearance is just your overall appearance. We tend to see people that are hygienic, that have a healthy appearance, to be more authoritative. Next, we have confidence, and you've already got a perfect toolbox to leveling up your sense of confidence in the field. Next is connection. Connection means, am I fully checked in? Am I fully tuned in to what I'm doing in this moment? This is also part of the Hughes Authority Inventory that you downloaded in that module when we talked about authority. The final element here is intent. Intent means, do I have a clear intent of what's going on? We talked about this when we talked about confidence. Do I have a generalized expectation of positive outcomes? Also, having a great intent of I intend to help another person. I intend to do good. I intend to do something good for another person. Just having that level of intent for other people gives you somewhat of an internal hall pass or internal permission slip to have unstoppable confidence. And when you're moving through the world, you are always creating gut feelings in other people, whether you like it or not. It's always going to happen. So having a very good intention for what you're doing and having a clear intention in your mind for your end goal of what you want to accomplish is the best way to create great gut feelings in other people. So let's really dive into the movement aspect of this, because that's what I think is most important for you to grasp as an operative. The first thing I want you to remember is your posture. Posture is incredibly important. And one thing I want you to take away from this is, are your ears over your heart? And is your heart over your pelvis? It's the one thing I want you to take away from this, and just being able to process that question, not being rigid, not being stiff. Can you have good posture and still be comfortable? So my ears should be over my heart, and my heart should be over my pelvis. Just having those in alignment and still being comfortable is one of the fastest ways to trigger that movement tripwire that lets somebody know that you are the authority figure. One quick way that I teach my clients to remind themselves about posture is when they get in their car, I tell them to adjust their mirror to where it's tilted up just a little bit, to where it forces them to straighten their body to see out of the rearview mirror of their vehicle. And if you start doing this, you're going to get into a habit of adjusting your posture throughout the day. This is just one quick thing that you can do to help remind yourself to have better posture. And remember, it's not stiff, it's not overly rigid, and you can still have great posture and be relaxed. When we went through the confidence module, we talked about how important it was to be comfortable and how important it was to be the most comfortable person in the room. I'm going to give you phase 2 of that challenge right now. What I also want you to challenge yourself with is being the slowest moving person in the room. And here's what I mean by that. As a behavior profiler, I've been watching human behavior for well over 30,000 hours. If there's one thing that I've learned, is fear speeds up the human body. Fear speeds up our gestures, our movements, and everything else that goes on inside of us. So one thing I want to challenge you to do this week and for the next few months is set a speed limit on your body. And you don't have to be hard on yourself, but I want you to set a speed limit and try to stick to it for an entire week or maybe 2 weeks. It depends on how much you want to challenge yourself. But try to stick to this speed limit. And here's the speed limit. I want you to write this down. For this week, I'm not going to move any faster than if I was standing in a swimming pool or if I was underwater somewhere. So I want being underwater to be the speed limit of your body for this week. And that's going to help you remember to slow down, be more comfortable, be more confident, and you're more in control. And remember, you no longer see the world through hierarchy and status. So when I say you're in control, what I mean is you're in control of you. The most powerful lesson in leadership that I could ever pass down to you is that you could pick a random episode of Andy Griffith. It's called The Andy Griffith Show. And if you're going through a problem in your life right now, you're struggling to build a relationship with someone, you're struggling in some kind of leadership capacity, I don't care what episode it is, I guarantee you can pick a random episode of Andy Griffith and it will have some information in there. It will teach you some sort of lesson that applies directly to whatever issue you're going through in life. I learned about this in the Middle East. When we would screw up, our commander would make us go in and pick a random episode of Andy Griffith, and It never failed. Every time you'd watch that episode, it would have something in that episode that was a leadership lesson about how you had failed your troops or how you had done something to put your people maybe in harm's way. The reason I think this show is so powerful is because of Andy Griffith. It's an older show, but I think it's still available. Andy Griffith is the sheriff in this show of this town called Mayberry. And his responses to everything just exude the most perfect example of authority and everything we mean when we talk about authority: the confidence, discipline, the leadership, the gratitude, the enjoyment. So he has a composure about him. He has a maturity about him. The most powerful thing that I could ever teach you is called the composure pendulum. So on the right side of this pendulum, you'll see the letter P for posturing. This is when we're over posturing, we're trying too hard. It's rooted in insecurity. In the middle of this pyramid, we have the C, which stands for composure. And moving to the left, you'll see another C, which stands for collapse. Collapse is when we kind of give up on things. We make ourselves smaller, maybe to make someone else more comfortable, or we're trying to appease a person. Collapse and posturing are both rooted in insecurity. And if you watch any episode of Andy Griffith, you'll see his assistant. His name is Barney Fife. This guy vacillates back and forth on the pendulum between posturing and collapse, back and forth on just about every episode. And it's a perfect example that when somebody lives in a posturing environment, one of their tendencies is, how do I fix being so posturing? Then they look across that little pendulum towards the other side and they say, oh, that collapse looks like the opposite of what I'm doing. So they do the opposite of what they're doing and they vacillate into collapse. And then if they're in collapse and they're feeling challenged by other people, they're feeling like a doormat all the time, they're like, how do I fix this issue? And they look across the other side of the pendulum and they see posturing over here. Now posturing becomes the solution to their problem. Instead of seeing the center, the middle ground of living in pure and real composure. So when you watch Andy Griffith, he was always in composure. He's a perfect example of staying in composure and not going into collapse and not falling into posturing. This is wholly my opinion, but I think one of the most compelling descriptions of true authority and leadership was written by a guy named Marcus Aurelius. He was writing about one of his generals named Maximus, and I want to read this to you because I think it's very important. I don't just want to flash it on the screen or something. I want you to hear this. This comes from a book called The Emperor's Handbook, which was written in 121 AD. Maximus set an example of self-mastery, steadiness of purpose, and good cheer that no circumstance, not even illness, could extinguish. He combined in beautiful measure gravity with charm and did whatever needed to be done without making a fuss. Everyone believed that what he said was what he thought, and he never acted with an intention to do harm or give offense. Nothing surprised or frightened him, and he never seemed to be in a hurry or slow to accomplish a task. He was neither intimidated or embarrassed on the one hand, nor aggressive or suspicious on the other. So giving, forgiving, and loyal was he by nature, that he appeared to be a man whose virtues were inborn rather than acquired. It is unimaginable that anyone ever felt superior or inferior around him, perhaps due to his pleasing sense of humor. So now you have the keys to authority, and you know that if you need to influence another person, you need those 5 traits: the movement, appearance, confidence, connection, and intent. And that's going to be triggered in other people's heads. And that's why you're going to focus on your posture, your composure, your level of comfort, and moving slowly. Moving like you're standing in water. In the next module, I'm going to show you the tactical formulas for influence, and I'm also going to give you word-for-word examples of how to use some of these today. So join me in there right now. How can a normal person be talked into committing murder in less than an hour? What would it take to get somebody to completely deny every single instinct of survival and social behavior and cause the death of another person? What I'm about to show you is terrifying. It's the darkest side of psychology, and I'm going to show you what all of the experts completely missed.
The narcissist is a sociopath. They want to know that what they said sunk in. And any indicator that you give them of that, then you're feeling control. They might be hoping that you fight back. Because then the fight back is more domination, it's more pounding. They enjoy the pounding. And by and large, if it's a bad relationship, you just need.
You've spent over 2 decades in the FBI negotiating with terrorists, criminals, and some of the most manipulative people on the planet. So how do you handle and outsmart someone like a narcissist or a psychopath who lacks complete empathy and only cares about themselves?
Well, when you come to Earth, when you're born, regardless of gender, ethnicity, anything, diet, religion, the moment you arrive on planet Earth, the hypothesis, which I believe in, is you come basically with a set of core emotions. Anger, surprise, joy, disgust, fear. Then what creates a sociopath, a narcissist, any of these bad types, is then their experience with life as they evolve. They're still born with core emotions. That doesn't change. FBI, they're always trying to figure out what created a sociopath, what created a serial killer. And one of the theories was age 5 or 6, they do something wrong, they're severely punished. A month later, they do same thing wrong, they're not punished at all. What they learned was there are no rules. As they go through life, that there are no rules, and that creates feelings, the distinction between emotions and feelings. Even a narcissist or sociopaths are born with core emotions. They have emotional vulnerabilities. They lack certain types of feelings. They don't feel guilt for whatever reason. They don't feel sympathy, but they still feel anger, fear, disgust, happiness, joy, the core that you're born with. And they still have neurochemicals. So these are the tools that a hostage negotiator looks as I'm using my skills in hostage negotiation or in business or in personal relationships to start to diagnose which one you are. Like if a classic is the forced empathy from the other side. My son labeled that as forced empathy because if you and I are in interaction, you're saying something to me it's going to be tough for me to do. And I say, how am I supposed to do that? 7 to 8 times out of 10, there's a 180-degree shift in your perspective because I forced you to take a look at me and consider me as a human being. If I say to you, how am I supposed to do that? And you say to me, that's your problem. Now I know what I'm dealing with. One of the most common reactions to how am I supposed to do that is somebody says, you know, you're right. I could see how that is a problem for you. What if I offer you this? And they instantly go to collaboration. That's the majority, 70 to 80% of the time. So you got to know which ones are not. And that's your problem. Now you're telling me either you're not collaborative as a person, period, or you're not collaborative under these circumstances. Now you might be backed into a corner. In a business negotiation, you might be under massive pressure. I gotta know, are you under pressure or are you just a bad player? So my first response is gonna be, sounds like you're under a lot of pressure. Because I need to know if you're under pressure. Now, if you are, you're going to immediately resonate with that. Immediately. It's an involuntary response. If you slough it off, then I know you're using the attack as gaslighting, narcissism, any of those things that are indicators of a bad player.
You talk about the illusion of control. And so talk to me about how you can use that in a conversation to somewhat allow the other person to feel like they have the power, but actually you do.
Deference. There's so much power in deference. And I know somebody needs to be in control. First of all, the what and how questions. They feel deferential when you ask somebody that. And in point of fact, you got an opponent on the other side you want to exhaust. And what and how questions call for deep thinking, which is exhausting. The other side doesn't know you're doing that to them. What do you want me to do? How do you want me to react? What do you want from me? Innocently asked. But when you got a bad actor on the other side, passive aggression is an acceptable tool because they're probably using some passive aggression on you. So deference is a way to hide how you're trying to wear them out. And they feel in control. People love to be asked what and how questions because the control freak wants to tell you what to do, wants to tell you how to do it. It makes them feel large and in charge. And we stumbled across this with kidnappers globally. Doesn't matter what kind of kidnapper you could think of. There was a lone kidnapper serial killer on the other side on a kidnapping in the Philippines. That is a bad guy. What and how questions made him feel in control.
What were you asking him?
It was a great case because I'm coaching. You know, in a kidnapping, the secret to kidnapping is coaching a family member, because then you can hide your skills. I'm hitting them with stealth skills. And the brother, ridiculously coachable guy. So we start out basically the what and how questions. You know, how am I supposed to pay if I don't know my brother's alive? How am I supposed to pay if I don't know you're going to let him go? This guy had this elaborate scheme of wanted a daily per diem to keep the son alive while he researched the family. So I'm coaching this guy, Aaron, and I said, look, here's the problem. If we give in on the daily rate, which your family could pay easily, family's got a lot of dough, mom's saying, pay, I want to keep my son alive. Like, no, that's the way he's researching you guys. The more easily you pay, the longer you pay, the more money you have, it's gonna go on forever. So we got to flip it on him.
How do you know that, by the way? Once you say yes to one thing, does that then inevitably open up the gate for it to be yes for a long period of time?
Absolutely. And so then, how do you avoid saying yes, but you don't say no? It's usually with a how or what question, because it throws right back on the other side. So anyway, we're coaching the brother, and on his own, he says, and we don't know at the time the guy's a murderer. It ends up being a rescue and a capture of the bad guy at the end. That's how we found out it was a lone kidnapper serial killer. He says to him, when we run out of money paying the daily rate, what's gonna happen? And there's this really long pause on the other end of the line. And the guy says, it'll be all right. So I got a team in country. They're giving me blow by blow. I'm still back in DC. They say, we just had this call. We think it was good, but we don't know what it means. I start doing a happy dance because I'm like, he just promised not to kill our hostage. He doesn't know that he said that. But that's in essence of what we got. So we got this dude on the ropes. And he was a really bad guy. He was a killer, he was a murderer.
So what do you do in those scenarios then when you're trying to negotiate with somebody and they are nefarious and so they don't mind lying, cheating, saying whatever they like to get them? So in that scenario, even if he said, don't worry, I won't kill him, how do you know it's true?
We've been talking to him long enough. It's the way a lie detector works. A lie detector detects how you tell the truth if you tell the truth. And so the longer you talk to somebody, your first question is, do they tell the truth at all? And you pick it up by innocent things. How long was your drive? What'd you have for breakfast? What's your favorite thing? Because small talk, properly designed, begins to tell you whether or not somebody tells the truth. Now, they may not tell the truth at all, and that's good information to have. Then the next thing really is everybody feels safe when they say no. So if I get you to say no, I need to know whether or not you prepared in advance? Like, did you do X? No. That's prepared, no. You did it, you expect to be braced on it. How do you say no when you're prepped for it? But I say something like, you know, boy, you love baseball. No, I don't love baseball. Now that's an honest no. Based on delivery, I need to know which one I got. So even if you don't tell the truth, since you feel safe when you say no, you'll say no right away to something, and I need to know the difference between the two.
So why would you want somebody to say no?
In general terms, all humans feel safe and protected when they say no. I'm going to get your most unguarded response. It's mostly nurture, in that everybody is taught, get the other person to say yes. The yes momentum selling. Every person that's ever had any sort of sales training, persuasion training, and then it has become a global phenomenon. You sell whatever your commodity is by getting somebody to say yes. And then you get a succession of yeses, and then you got them at the end. Now, since every salesperson has been taught that, every human being on earth has had it done to them. So you can count on somebody being yes bad. Flip side is, you were taught then, if yes is commitment, then no is protection. And so when you say no, you feel safe and protected. So you calm down, your guard doesn't go up. This is so universal. Tim Ross is a minister who said he changed his call to Jesus from yes to no.
Oh.
Because if you're a religious leader, and I know this is going to sound disrespectful to all religious leaders, but you're selling the hereafter, you're selling spirituality. Do you want to have a closer relationship with Jesus? Do you want to be able to sleep good at night? Do you want this? Do you want that? If you want that, come on forward. And he switched to, are you against having a closer relationship with Jesus? Are you against? Because these are no warranted questions.
That's so insane to think about, because as a woman, one of the things that I've been really kind of harping on about in my adulthood is the ability to say no, because I say yes to everything. And what's incredible is, as you were talking, I was like, wow, it does give you the illusion of power. It makes me feel like I am in control. So when you come to me and I say no, and if you're doing it in the technique that you're saying, is I'm completely unaware of what you're doing.
Right, right. And then the other nice thing about it is, I haven't necessarily got a commitment from you. But if you have obstacles after you've said no, you'll share them with me, because you don't feel like you're digging yourself into a hole. And unfortunately, after you've said yes, you think everything that you share digs you further into commitment. And so if there are obstacles to where we're going, I want to know it. I don't want you to feel that you were bamboozled or talked into anything. It's not going to stick. And I do need to know the obstacles, because they're going to get in the way of us collaborating. So if I say, is this a ridiculous idea? You'll say, no, it's not ridiculous, but here are the issues. And then you'll lay them out to me.
I'm going to go back to a lot of my community unfortunately have dealt with really bad actors.
Yes.
So do these still work on people who are narcissists or psychopaths? All right, guys, we'll be right back with Chris. But for 1 second, if you're struggling to build your confidence, to set boundaries, to stand up for yourself, whether that's in your relationship or in business or with your family, and you don't feel like you have a voice, then you've come to the right channel. Smash the subscribe button down there so you can get notified every single time an episode comes out. Let's build our confidence together. So smash that subscribe button. Now, back to the episode.
Nothing works all the time. So when you've got a couple different things to try, it's not that it failed, it gave you different information. Now, narcissists, sociopaths, they still have some emotions. They still have the core emotions. They're still emotionally vulnerable in certain ways. And so then you just need to use an oriented question, a how or what question, a label or a mirror, to begin to give you a clear picture of what they respond to and what works.
What's the label in the mirror, if you don't mind explaining?
The label is, seems like you're angry.
And that won't escalate somebody who's already angry and a psychopath?
So depending upon how they see you, it may be more necessary to say, I know you're angry. Because sometimes it seems like your anger is tentative. It usually works best if we don't have lots of relationship time. But if you don't want me to be tentative, you want me to know, then you say, I know you're angry. Or it's clear you're angry. And in a relationship with somebody who's attacking me with anger, they're gonna probably want you to say, it's clear I've made you angry. It's clear I've done something wrong. Especially when anger is a manipulation, because they're yelling at you because they want to feel in control. They're yelling at you because they want you to feel I've done something wrong. Now, the mere act of formulating that in your head actually helps you get your feet back under you. You have to stabilize to some degree to even say it. And that's why it's hardest at the beginning. And then it begins momentum. So that's a label. Now, mirror. Just repeating 1 to 3-ish words of exactly what they said.
What do you mean? Give me an example.
Give you an example? See, and how did you feel when I did that?
I
You
felt like
wanted
were
to
listening.
respond.
Yeah, and I felt like you were listening enough that you wanted to engage and ask me a question about it.
Yeah. Yeah, even when you see it coming. Like, people mirror me on a regular basis. And I like it. Now, here's a critical factor with a mirror. If you've listened versus heard, if you've listened when I say something, you either comprehended it or you're curious about it. I need to hear that in your tone. So I said, give you an example that showed you that I comprehended what you said. Now, if I go, give an example, that means I'm curious about what you said. Either way, I had to process it. There are some people that do mirroring with a flat tone, and the tone indicates no processing at all. I run into a guy on the street that's been studied, I'm familiar with. Bump into him on the street in Brooklyn a couple weeks ago, and he mirrored me, and it was a flat affect. And I thought, all right, so that annoyed me. What about that annoyed me? And I said, dude, you're showing no comprehension at all.
You actually said that to him?
Yeah. And he said, no comprehension at all? With another flat affect. And I said, man, look, you're mirroring me and it's annoying me. He said, well, I don't even know I'm doing it. Yes, you do. I'm trying to help you get better. But he's gotten into such a habit of a flat affect. I realized after the fact, like, why did my skill on me bother me? And I realized his tone indicated neither comprehension nor curiosity. And when I talk, I want to know that what I said sinks in. The narcissist is a sociopath. They want to know that what they said sunk in. And at any indicator that you give them of that, then some of the goals are beginning to be met. They're feeling control. They might be hoping that you fight back, because then the fight back is more domination, it's more pounding. They enjoy the pounding. So it's giving them the illusion of control and taking away, if they're predatory, that's predatory behavior. You're not running from them anymore. You're not fighting back. They kind of don't know what to do with that if you're just listening and comprehending. Or you're curious. How am I failing you? And the way I said that was curious and deferential. Like, I want to please you. So the tone, there's some real magic in the tone. Once you start to listen to it, I'm getting the upper hand invisibly.
Yeah. The upper hand invisibly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, talk to me about the 2 most powerful words that somebody can say to transform a conversation. And the question is, would a bad actor, narcissist, or psychopath also fall in that trap?
Yeah, well, that's right. If you get a that's right out of somebody, they feel heard. They feel you got it. You want me to obey you because you think that's the role of a wife, to obey. That's right. Suddenly you get it. You realize now you're getting them. They're feeling heard, they're feeling obeyed, they're feeling commanded. Now, the interesting thing about what I just said, I didn't agree with any of it.
That's true.
Which you never notice.
No, I didn't at all.
And that's really like the magic of real empathy. Like the other side has no idea you didn't agree. They feel heard. They feel obeyed. And then you're back to feelings. And you're starting to trigger the feelings.
And that's what you want them to feel.
Yeah. Well, I want to see how far I'm going to get to start with.
Oh, yeah.
Is the feeling of being in control what they're really after? In, quote, normal collaborative negotiations, we believe there's 3 types: assertive, analyst, and accommodator. Fight, flight, make friends. Caveman response to threat. Each type has something more important than the agreement. So what I'm driving with on a narcissist is there's probably something more important than agreement. It's probably feeling of being in control. Assertive wants to feel respected. They want to feel respected and heard. I'm a natural born assertive. You make me feel respected and heard, and I suddenly get collaborative. Because being respected and heard is more important than anything else. Accommodator is hope-oriented, tends to be very relationship-oriented, very optimistic. The only way you really turn an accommodator off is if they feel there's no relationship ever to be had ever again. Now, why should they talk to you? Because they're about the long-term relationship, hopeful opportunities. It's more important than an agreement. I don't care if we agree, I don't care if we have a relationship. Analyst. Analyst is after data, information. I don't care if we agree, I just want to know if I got all the information. Each one of those things, they have something more important than the deal. Now, the narcissist, the sociopath. First, you want to find out if being heard and feeling in control is enough. If it is, bang, you're there.
How would you test that?
You start getting that's right, go dead silent, see what the follow-on behavior is. Continue diagnostic. Let me gather more information. If it's not, I've hit a milestone, but I haven't hit the goal. So now I need to know what the goal is. You don't know what the goal is till you've hit a few milestones. Let them feel safe and controlled. Let them feel like they have the upper hand. Now I'm going to find out what's going on. Ongoing victimization from a predatory person, which is what a narcissist and a sociopath are, you need to know what the secondary goal is. And by and large, if it's a bad relationship, you probably just need to start getting some opening to think and plan and get out. Crisis Hotline, last century, when I volunteered to start this whole journey, their analogy was quicksand. Somebody's in a quicksand, you don't get them out of it by getting into the quicksand with them. You got to stay out of the quicksand. So in bad relationships, there's this quicksand, downward spiral that people just get caught up in. You just need enough time to think to start the plan to get out, because you got to get out. Easy to say, hard to do. But if it's a little at a time, just like you got in, let yourself get out a little at a time.
Wow, that's so good. Coming up.
I don't advocate this in normal relationships. But when you got a bad actor on the other side, then this stuff is fair game.
What up, my homie? Okay, can we talk about something that still carries a bit of shame? Most women don't want to own their pleasure. We're taught it's taboo. But pleasure, my homie, isn't dirty. It's healing, it's powerful, and it actually helps you reconnect with the most important relationship on earth, the one that you have with yourself. And that's why I'm absolutely obsessed with Lilo. They don't just make toys, they make artful, high-tech innovations to explore your pleasure your way. So whether you're curious or cautious or ready to go all freaking in, then Lilo makes it easy and fun to try different sensations and discover what actually lights you up. You may want to start with the Sonar 3 Cruise. It uses sonic waves, not vibrations. There's no buzzing, there's no numbing. It's just full body, next freaking level O's that'll make you wonder why you waited so long. Go to Lilo.com and use my code LISA15 for an extra 15% off, stackable with other promos. That's LISA15 at checkout. So go check them out. Okay, so you had said that's right. Explain to me the difference between that's right and you're right.
I love it when you say that's right. Because I know I'm scoring points with you internally. I know that you feel that what I just said was the truth. So at a bare minimum, you feel I'm really listening and dialed into you. So, but we say you're right to make somebody feel in control. So hearing you're right to a manipulative person, they love that. Everybody learns along the line as a defense mechanism when somebody's really pestering you. If you say you're right to them, they'll probably stop pestering you. And they'll feel really good. And they'll leave you alone for a while. Because saying you're right makes me feel good. Makes me feel in control. And so that if you're in a toxic relationship, now they're gonna watch whether or not you walk the talk. But you're right is a great way to give yourself some space. You're right, you told me never to do this again. It's clear I wasn't listening. It's clear my actions indicate I'm disrespectful. A wife's job is to obey. You're starting to hit their buttons. I don't advocate this in normal relationships. But when you got a bad actor on the other side, then this stuff is fair game.
I totally agree. I don't like to lie. I don't like to say things I don't mean, but you freaking better believe if my life was in danger at any moment, I will say what I have to get out. And so I really applaud you saying that. And what I realized was it seems to work if you say you're right to a narcissist and you get the bad actor to say to you, that's right. That's the kind of perfect combination where they now really feel like they're in control.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then you start to figure your way out of the labyrinth that you didn't get into in one day. And if you give yourself the same amount of time to get out of it that you got into it, in point of fact, you're going to get out of it a lot faster. The hard thing is the exit's going to be abrupt. And there's one of the most spiritual guys I ever met, a minister in New York City, was Norman Vincent Peale's protege, a guy named Arthur Caliandro. And at the time, I'm running a suicide hotline, crisis hotline, and we got to let the executive director go. And I'm trying to salvage this relationship. And it's just not working. It's a relationship that's not working. Bad match, bad this, bad that. They want a bad person. And I go to Arthur, and I'm like, I figure he's going to counsel me on, how to be soft, how to be gentle. Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? And Arthur just says to me, there's no gentle way to cut somebody's head off. And I'm like, if I ever run across anybody that's God's guy on earth, Arthur is in that category. And if he's telling me that if it's time to end the relationship, that you cut it as quickly and cleanly as possible, and that's the least painless way to do it. Arthur was God's guy. And I figure, all right, if the relationship's got to be over, you got to cut it and you got to go. And whatever your spirituality is, as a human, that's the best move possible.
That's so cool. Okay, so as we start talking about this, you talk about leverage.
Yeah, and that's one of the aspects of our thinking, me, my team. I think we've evolved so much. We think so much more now in terms of influence versus leverage.
Oh, what's the difference?
Typically, leverage is thought of as your ability to hurt somebody. How to, deny them. If you don't make this deal, there's going to be consequences. I'm going to fire you. I'm going to tell people about you.
And you don't think consequences are good?
I think they're a last resort, and I think that there's a way to gently bring it up.
Oh, say more.
Well, I'm coaching some guys in a business negotiation now. And they say, look, if they don't straighten it out with us, I don't know how that they expect this to not get out. It's going to ruin them in the industry. People are asking us now what it's like to deal with them. And so in that circumstance, if you're going to threaten somebody with somebody, you know, I'm going to say something to the effect of, here's my problem. And this is my problem, and it's not your problem. I'm an honest guy. That's my problem. People are going to ask me what happened did we work it out or not? Now, that's not your problem. That is my problem. That's the dilemma that I'm faced with. So I don't want you to feel backed into a corner for me to drop the threat. I want you to think what I need you to think without me saying it. And so what do I know in advance? As soon as I start saying this is my problem, then you're taking a different perspective. You don't feel threatened.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It feels like you don't have the defenses up.
Yeah, because I'm trying to keep your defenses down. I don't want you to see me as a threat, but I need to share with you consequences. I'll give you another one.
Yeah, please.
Inappropriate sexual comments in a workplace. So a very carefully constructed iMessage. It has 3 parts.
Oh, yeah.
When you, I feel, because. Now it has to be in that order. The when you describe the negative behavior. Now that's the hardest part, because when you begin to describe the negative behavior, when you're going in your mind, you're going to get triggered and you're going to start name calling. And you can't name call.
So like when you can't say are an asshole, you can't do that. You can say when you dismiss me.
When you dismiss me, when you make inappropriate sexual innuendo.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the situation.
Or when you make even inappropriate and is evaluative term. So if you say when you state sexual innuendo, you want to make it as neutral as possible. You know, it's the old school, separate the person from the behavior. So describe the behavior. Well, who says it's inappropriate? It was sexual innuendo. It's arguable whether or not, in their mind, whether or not it's inappropriate. You want to stay away from this stuff. Remove their defense mechanisms as much as possible. Now, I feel there's a 180-degree shift there, because you is an engaging word. I get your attention real fast when I say you. When you're expecting a personal attack, name calling, when you're an asshole. I'm not going to do that, but I've triggered your guard up a little bit. You're expecting a further onslaught. I is a self-centering word. It's one of the few times you want to go with I feel, because now there's such a 180 shift in the instantaneous momentum. The predator's a little caught off guard a little bit. I feel, you have to use a negative emotion, not too negative. I counsel usually, I feel concerned. I feel angry, that's a little strong in this case. When you make sexually inappropriate remarks, I feel concerned. Now the kicker, here's the punch that you're setting them up for. The because is the consequences, and the consequences have to cost them. An example of missing the punch at the end. A woman that was one of our coaches. She says, when you make inappropriate remarks, I feel concerned because it makes me uncomfortable. That's a cost to you. That's ineffective. As a matter of fact, he might like that it makes you uncomfortable.
That's what I was going to say. That may be their goal.
Right. When you make inappropriate remarks, I feel uncomfortable because it's going to stop me from being loyal to you. It's going to stop me from following your direction. It's going to stop me from supporting you in the workplace. Now that's leverage. That's the cost to the other side. Now it matters. The because has to cost them. Now the iMessage, it's got to be in that order, and it takes practice. How can I usually roll one off the top of my head? Practice. It's one of the most complicated set of our skills. And even if I practiced all week this week, and let's say end of the week, Friday, I could do an iMessage just like that under any circumstances. If I go for a week without thinking about it, it's like any other skill, I start to deteriorate. So then, okay, fine. give yourself a chance, you write it out, you prep yourself, and you use it in the moment.
That's so true, and thank you for saying that, because I believe my own confidence, the way that for me to be able to set boundaries, to stand up for myself, has all been constant practice. I say this a lot. One of my favorite movies is Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off. I am waxing every single day.
Yeah.
And so I love that, like, be prepared, because when you're in that moment, I'm just going to speak for myself, I can absolutely get in my own emotions.
Yep.
And my own emotions definitely trigger the fight or flight. And
Yep.
I either become the chihuahua that just like barks because it's the only way I feel like I can defend myself, or I completely shut down.
Right. Yeah. One of the reasons why I often use a late night FM DJ voice.
Explain to me this. There are 3 types of voices, I think you say, right?
Well, there's the late night FM DJ voice, which is downward inflecting, which Sandy Hine on my team, top women's coach, she says for women, if you don't have a lower voice, all you got to do is drop your chin when you talk. When you drop your chin when you talk, you downward inflect.
Oh.
Even if you sound like a chihuahua. The downward inflection is the key. There are times when you need to project, you bring your chin up. And so you can practice that and do an automatic inflection override with the positioning of your chin, no matter what kind of voice you have. The soothing voice is a neurochemical reaction. I will calm you down. Now you can fight it, but you can't stop the fact that I've started a calming effect in your brain. Now the smiling voice, same thing, neurochemical reaction. When I run across somebody that is just really angry, some clerk, someplace that does nothing get battered by the people that come in and complain, I'll have to hit him with a smiling voice maybe 3 times in a row.
Oh.
And then you'll see it come over. So it's just a matter of sticking to it.
The first one doesn't hit then, because they're already in, let's say, a bad space?
They got so many negative neurochemicals going that I may have to hit them 2 or 3 times to soak them all up.
Oh, okay. And they don't get annoyed by the happy tone?
Even if they do, and sometimes they'll get annoyed because they don't want to be happy, and they caught themselves being happy and they're mad.
Ah.
And so I'm like, I'm going to keep going with that kind of a voice. In general terms, a playful attitude, you'd be shocked at how far you can get, how quickly with a playful attitude in day-to-day interactions. And so with the narcissist, the attacking person, they're not going to want that playful attitude right away. They're going to want the deferential downward inflection. I understand. Careful that you don't let that go into condescending or placating.
Because that would just wind them up even more, right?
They'll sense that. And how do you know the difference? Practice in all your other conversations.
You definitely have the DJ late night voice, which is very soothing, by the way. What's the third tone?
The assertive voice. I would describe myself as just being direct and honest.
Is there a way to combine them? Because I feel like you're direct and honest, but you do it in the DJ voice.
Yes. Because a bare bones, direct and honest voice inadvertently triggers a fight response in you.
Oh, yeah.
And you shut down, and we'll get into an argument when we shouldn't have. I mean, in broader applications, I think that law enforcement is taught to give loud and clear commands. They don't realize, because of training, they're doing it because they're trained. They don't realize, in point of fact, they're making it harder for the other person to think.
That's what I was going to say. I could just see if you're in a negotiation, let's say you've got a hostage situation, would assertive ever work?
It's always counterproductive.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels good in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Could be addicting, but it ends up being counterproductive.
Okay, so you try to stay in the late night DJ voice.
Late night DJ voice, there's another interesting trick. People are ridiculously vulnerable to curiosity. Like, you can't resist genuine curiosity on my part. And if I'm curious, I turned my head to the side when I said that, and I brought my chin up slightly. And that gives me the curious tone of voice. But you also, like, if I don't say a word and we're talking and I go,
Oh, yeah, you just did the head tilt.
Yeah, you felt my interest. You felt that I was dialed in and that I wanted to hear more. There's a couple of physical signs that are kind of universal. As you're listening to me, you're a good listener and you got a head nod. Head nod's a universal sign of interest and understanding, comprehension. If you're nodding your head, I feel like you're dialed in. And if you're curious, you feel drawn to that. You can't resist my curiosity. So it's a physical and a verbal reinforcement that we've found to be universal.
That's so good. And going back to the type of people that you'd be talking to, if they want to maintain control, showing the curiosity actually feels like, oh, you're really interested in me.
Yes.
Like it just adds to that control factor.
Yeah.
Okay, I love all the steps that you've given us. This has been so fascinating. Now let's go to, though, you say don't compromise.
The unfortunate aspect of compromise is if I don't get everything I want, then no matter what I got, I'm going to be disappointed. And so Daniel Kahneman, he won a Nobel Prize in 2002 in behavioral economics, which is a loss stings twice as much as an equivalent gain. So if I've
Can you repeat that again?
a loss stings twice as much as an equivalent gain.
Oh.
It's an emotional condition of humans. So if I give in by 5, I'm going to feel I lost 10. Which is why compromise tends to be a downward spiral, no matter, because we're both going to feel we gave up more than we actually did. And then we get into this whole concept of fairness, which, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder.
I love the way you call it the F-bomb.
The F-bomb, yeah. Fair is the F-bomb. If somebody drops fair, things have gotten emotional.
Oh, really? That's a sign?
That's not fair.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, you have been triggered. So then compromise is guaranteed disappointment. I'm a last century guy.
Yeah.
Back when newspapers had cartoons, cartoon panels. And there was this one, it was the Lockhorns, and it was a husband and a wife. And the husband saying to the wife, why don't we compromise? That way we'll both be unhappy.
Yeah.
So compromise is guaranteed disappointment. And if you're looking to gain the upper hand emotionally, you're engaging in a strategy that's going to guarantee disappointment in your counterpart. So just be aware of that. Now, in a moment, it might be the next best step. And if you're with a predatory counterpart, next best step might be what you need to gain space. But be aware it's not a long-term solution. It, at best, is a Band-Aid. Sometimes you need a Band-Aid. If the situation calls for it, you might need a Band-Aid. Do not kid yourself that it's anything more than a Band-Aid. Stressful, emotional abuse, things you got to find your way out of, it may be what you need to survive the moment. So I wouldn't rule it out under those circumstances.
It feels like compromise comes when you feel like sometimes you're either at a stalemate where you're like, well, there's nothing, you're not budging, I'm not budging, fine. Let's just meet in the middle.
Right.
Then how do you get what you want if you're not willing, if you shouldn't compromise and the other person shouldn't compromise?
There might be something there that neither one of you know about that's yet to be discovered. We refer to that as a black swan.
Explain what the black swan is.
Well, it's originally inspired by Nassim Nicholas Taleb's book, The Black Swan. The impact of the highly improbable. The tiny little things that ended up changing everything because they were hidden.
Because no one actually even realized a black swan existed, correct?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and Taleb used them as a great metaphor for discovering the things that'll change everything.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of by definition, in any negotiation, there's stuff I don't. There's stuff I know you don't. I've never heard anybody argue with that premise. Well, then that means there's stuff there that we don't know, that we can discover. What's the collaboration? In general terms. The narcissist, you don't know for sure what's going to make them happy. You got a pretty good idea. You should be gathering data. But maybe the dynamic has occurred in their life that's opened up their mind to something else that you don't know anything about. You don't know what happened in the last 24 hours when they were out of the house. You know, they're running from one shiny object to the next. And then it's confused in their head, and they're coming back trying to feel in control in the house because they feel chaos on the outside. They want control here, chaos out there is bothering them. What was it they had in the last 24 hours that bothered them? What got under their skin? As long as you're open to the concept that there's stuff there that maybe it's not to be discovered in every interaction. Maybe it's not to be discovered every day. But the sea of unending turmoil that life is, there's going to be stuff there to be discovered. And if you're open to it, all you got to do is be open to it.
And what does that look like? Asking questions?
See, questions make people feel questioned.
Oh.
Now, the what and how things are questions, and they're also exhausting. There may be moments when they have no tolerance for exhaustion. The crazy thing about the label is it's effectively questioning. It doesn't feel like a question.
Mm-hmm.
I could say to you, what's on your mind? And you'd stop and think. And if you had the energy, then you'd answer. If I say to you, seems like something's on your mind, you don't stop and think, you just tell me what's on your mind. For whatever reason, it comes out easier, with less friction, far simpler. You made the narcissist angry. You don't know why. It's clear I did something that made you angry. They're more than likely to tell you what it is.
Because you're not asking a question, you're more like making it a statement that almost gives them validation.
Yes.
That's so good. Okay, in these scenarios, you talk with authority, you speak with your DJ late night voice. I would assume, though, in the career that you've had, that you have been triggered. How do you avoid getting emotional and letting your emotions flood you, whereby you then act out of accordance to who you want to be?
If I'm really out of control in a moment, I'll switch to the late night FM DJ voice because I've practiced doing that, and I know it's going to calm me down.
So literally, you're in this conversation, you feel like you're getting triggered, and so immediately you go, oh, I need to now do the late night DJ voice.
Right, because I use it to calm me down.
Ah, that's great.
And then really the ongoing thing, and something I've just come across recently, there's a book called Chatter. What's the chatter in our head? Everybody's heard you got like 50,000 conversations go through your mind in a given day, and the vast majority of it is repetitive. So the hypothesis is, can I get behind that and switch it? And you can't. And it's a lifelong habit of not being in control of it. So for me, it's still an ongoing struggle. Who does the chatter? Give me some examples. My favorite example, which got me started first thinking about it, Jocko Willink, you know, the SEAL.
Yes, I do.
You know, his guys are like, Jocko, no matter what happens to us, all you ever say is good. We lost all our funding for our weapons. You say good. You know, our training facility burned down. You say good. Like, he's got the habit of his inner chatter is always good because now he's reoriented. He's got problem solving. So my first thought was, when I could remember, if I felt something triggering me, I'd just say to myself, good. And I felt an instantaneous change in my brain instantly. So I know chatter works. Now, getting good at it is something I'm still working on. And it's an ongoing process. I'm not always going to keep myself from catching on fire. I need to stop, drop, and roll in the moment. In normal interactions, I learned from everybody. Barbara Corcoran, a hero of mine. We're both on in a clubhouse back when Clubhouse was hot. We're both on this Clubhouse thing talking about negotiation. And Barbara says, here's a phrase that I've never regretted using. Now I'm dialed in. Because she's a shark.
Yeah, yeah.
She's famous. And she's been around long enough that she's got a great depth of experience. Barbara Corcoran says, I've never regretted saying this. I got to know what that is. And then she says, give me a little while to think about it. That's probably her stop, drop, and roll. Somebody's come at her really hard in a very demanding way. How do you not say yes? How do you not say no? Give me some time to think about it. What if they say, well, you don't have any time? All right, so you got some data on who you're dealing with.
Literally, that was going to be my next question, is that when you're dealing with somebody that just doesn't care, and I can imagine somebody who's a bad actor would be like, no, you can't have the control in this conversation.
Right, right. And then, all right, so what's your follow-up? Do you want me to fail you?
That's so good.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're not dealing with somebody who's playing fair. Warren Buffett, another hero of mine. He slowly distances himself from toxic people. Gently, kindly, but inevitably continues to put distance between himself and them. Other people are more abrupt. Another one of my heroes, Oprah Winfrey. I've had some really word-for-word conversations relayed to me that Oprah has had where she's taken people to the woodshed in a kind and loving way and reminded them that no matter what choice they made, she would always love them, but made it clear that there was one choice to continue with her. No matter which choice you make, I will love you, I will be on your side. And so I very definitely believe that you can love people and terminate the relationship.
Okay, so as you start to navigate your own emotional sobriety is what I call it. So once you've established your
I
own,
like that, yeah.
Once you've established your own emotional sobriety, when you're in a conversation, let's say, so you're working on yourself, you're telling yourself that that's good, and that other person though just keeps escalating, and you can feel that they're just ratcheting up. How do you navigate calming someone, or do you, in order to get to a resolve in a conversation?
Yeah. What's their objective? And again, here's are you inauthentic in order to save your own skin? And if it's survival, then that's acceptable to me. I mean, what do they want to feel? They want to feel power. They want to feel domination. Look, and so you're a way of, look, you're in charge. There's no one like you. You win. You're in charge. What do you want from me? How can I please you? They want to feel in charge. You're in a desperate act for survival. Then you're allowed to survive. You got to get your chatter up in the non-confrontational moments. And then that chatter is going to carry you through those moments and help you make the decisions that you need to make.
Wow, I love the idea of practicing your own chatter, because that's multiple times you've used it. And so realizing that in these dynamics, if you have control of the own chatter in your mind, that will impact how you then respond, which will impact the outcome. Oh, that's so strong. Chris, this has been so good. This has been so good.
It's been amazing.
Oh my God, honestly, thank you so much. You're doing great content. If someone wants to follow you, where can they continue to go down the rabbit hole of Chris Voss?
We have, within Black Swan, something we're calling the Black Swan Negotiation Community, where people are getting together and they're reinforcing each other a lot more. Go to the website, blackswanltd.com, to find that. And we have an annual conference for women, where the instructors are women. Sandy Hine, who I mentioned earlier, is the lead instructor. She won't even let me go.
Oh, really?
Like the first time we set that up.
Hi, I'm Joe Navarro, and welcome back to People Watching. Today, I'm going to talk about the psychopathic personality. Now, keep in mind that the psychopathic personality is different than when we're talking about the psychopath as defined by Robert Hare. In his book, Without Conscience, he amply talks about the psychopath. The psychopathic personality is those individuals who haven't been examined by a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but have many of the traits of the psychopath, the antisocial personality, the narcissistic personality, and other traits that we would consider inhumane or toxic. For me, the most important point to make about the psychopathic personality, and this should be your first takeaway, is that these are individuals that will victimize you physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. But most of the time, the things that they do never make the news. They never get arrested. They seem to go through life doing things which put us and others in jeopardy, but do not rise to that level where they are arrested. And as I said, you don't see them making the news. They do these things in the home, at work, on the playgrounds, in church or the synagogues, or in other endeavors. And what happens is that these individuals learn when to violate the rights of others in such a way where there is no camera present, or there are no witnesses, or they make threats so that nobody is willing to testify against them. So a woman who lives with an individual who is a psychopathic personality will pay the price. Maybe they'll get beat up, berated, abused, and so forth, but out of fear may never report it. The prevalence of these individuals can be as high as 4%, 5% of the population, but in some neighborhoods it may be even higher. And so we look for their behaviors because in the end, we're the ones that pay the price. As you know, my heart is always with the victims. And anytime we can avoid being victimized, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, this gives us an advantage. And obviously, the quicker we can identify these individuals, the better off we'll be. So, what are the traits of the psychopathic personality? Well, first, I would say that they habitually lie. And they say things, claim things that are just simply not true, but they do it with such speed and they do it with such confidence that it's quite often mesmerizing how they